It's the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show, and tonight we are going to crown some region champions. We are barreling our way towards the playoffs. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Justin Hall. Ed Bird behind the glass, not only working as producer extraordinaire, but as the only adults in the room to make sure that we don't get in any trouble. Justin, a monster slate tonight. I think we're in for some high-flying results, a ton of offense, some region championships, and maybe an upset alert or two. I think we're in for a lot tonight.
That made me, if you're a fan of classic professional wrestling, that brought you to 4, and I'm holding up 4 fingers. And when that happens, things can get crazy. Here comes Tully Blanchard. No, we are in for maybe the best night of the year. I mentioned it. Oh gosh, it was at 1:30. That was a long time ago. With Terry Ford on the halftime show.
A lot's happened
every
since
week.
1:30, Justin Hall.
A lot's happened since 1:30, and we'll jump into one of those things a little bit later as time allows. I did say that every single week, I tell my wife, say, Leah, this is going to be the best show of the week or of the season. There's so many great games tonight. And this morning, as we're heading to breakfast, our Friday tradition, I say it again, and she says, "You say it every week." And I say, "Am I wrong ever?" No, I am not wrong. And I never get to say that in my marriage. So
that's one of 2 sentences you don't get to say
ever
in a marriage.
Here's where it starts.
We have to clip this.
Clip it, and I'll never have to use it ever again. 3 minutes ago, Hammond and Cardinal Newman have already started. Right. And they are almost a full quarter in. And Hammond just had to go for 2 to get the tie. And they didn't get it. So it's 8-6 Cardinal Newman going to the second quarter.
Well,
we're on upset alert already for a team that is ITC. And we are, check my watch, 2 minutes into the program.
2 minutes into the program.
That's where we sit.
And 2-7 Cardinal Newman leads 9-0 Hammond. Rivalry
that's
game?
Happening right now as we speak.
Yeah,
that's a rivalry.
Would you consider that a rivalry? I think I consider
that's
it a
rivalry.
It's one of those. So, like, when you think of Cardinal Newman and Hammond, it might not be one of those that's like throw out the record books, which is one of the most overused cliches in all football, because sometimes you simply cannot throw out the record book. Sometimes one team is simply just better than the other on a yearly basis. You would think this is one of them because Cardinal Newman had a good team last year, had a few cracks at that apple and didn't get it done. And now Cardinal Newman through 9 games has only won 2 of them and has an early lead against Hammond. So dare I say, throw out the record books, but you're in a dogfight right now. Now we'll see how long this lasts. But at the same time, what better way to start off a show like this, where we're crowning region champions, where we're doing all of this type of stuff. We're in a pivotal week of high school football in the state of South Carolina, and we already have maybe a little bit of magic.
Maybe just a little bit. And what do I always tell you, sir? Mr. Campbell and Mr. Ed Bird know this very well. I say how our Friday nights go, that's how the next day goes on your college football Saturday. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Keep that in mind as we roll along. We've been proven correct on that a couple of times. You remember that LSU weekend? That happened. The Alabama weekend, that happened.
Yep.
The next week, Oklahoma, that definitely happened in terms of the Gamecock perspective. Things to keep in mind. Now, what's not happening tomorrow, but is happening tonight, and may happen again next week, is an undefeated matchup between 2 outstanding football teams.
Yes.
And that is Batesburg, Leesville, and Saluda. This is small town football personified.
Oh my God.
8-0 Batesburg, Leesville, a 7-0 Saluda. I've got, by the way, I want to credit Lou Bajak with what I'm about to tell you, because he does all the legwork and I just regurgitate it sometimes. But this has region title implications. I'm not saying that the winner wins the title. Batesburg Leesville's got to win their next 2 in order to do it, in order to claim this region crown. But if Saluda wins tonight, they're in the driver's seat and they got to win next week against American Leadership Academy, who I don't think has won a game this year.
I think you'd be correct in that assessment. That they are still winless on the year.
And by the way, Batesburg Leesville would have to then go on the road and beat Strom Thurmond next week. So it's not a foregone conclusion for either of these teams, should they win tonight, that they would get the region crown.
Correct.
But it's one of those games that is a small town game. Is Batesburg-Leesville the best story in high school football in the Midlands? I think so.
You could say that, yeah, from a multitude of angles. I think there is a lot of human interest that would lie within the Batesburg-Leesville story of a traditional power. It's almost kind of like watching Nebraska. If Nebraska, instead of losing to Indiana by 49 points, beat them by 49 points, beat Ohio State, and then it's like, oh my God, this former power is from maybe a non-traditional element is starting to wreak havoc once again. Not the case with Nebraska, but totally is the case for Batesburg-Leesville. And I think you can credit a lot of that to what that coaching staff has done. And it helps when you have a running back like Amadre Wooden, who is having just an incredible year on the ground. It helps to have a one-star player, and Amadre's having a phenomenal season.
Oh, he is. There's no question about that. It helps to have that. It helps. You're looking at a team, though, that was winless coming into this season when Batesburg-Leesville. Winless. Before this year. Not a win. And now they're sitting here in the driver's seat to win their region. And it's not an easy region. No. They're not, it's not you roll the ball out and you take care of business. No, this is a gauntlet of a region outside of, maybe a team or two. Now, by the way, that's not even the only game tonight. AC Flores at Camden.
You like points, Justin Hall?
I like points. I like them a lot.
I think we're going to get a lot.
I like offense.
We're going to get a lot in that game.
You're going to get more, probably, in the other game. That's R&E and South Point. You're probably going to get more in that game. They're decent. Yeah. Will Wilson and Cam McMillan. By the way, Cam McMillan has 75 touchdowns on his career, and he's class of 2026.
So, yeah, bad news for the rest of the classification. He's got one more year.
Yeah, he's got one more year, and who knows what that's going to look like for him offensively. I think it might end pretty well for him. But that's a game that's going to have a lot of offensive fireworks and a lot of offensive firepower. Grade Collegiate doesn't have a head coach right now. And there again, by the way,
that's no topic to touch. They're in a little bit of trouble.
We'll touch that one a little bit later, just briefly. But by the way, you have a hearing at the South Carolina High School League where your coach has been suspended for the remainder of the season and the postseason. You're still going to the postseason, by the way, which I think is, I would be jumping for joy if I'm them.
That's a win.
And then
that's a win for them. Yeah, that's
a win. But now you don't have your head coach. Here's your consolation prize. You get to go to Gilbert America for a blackout.
Congratulations. You're going to end this emotionally turbulent week by having to play a really good football team on the road. And they are going to be not just on the road. You're in one of the better environments in the state of South Carolina, and you're going to do so with a specialized crowd and theme. And you're going to do so with a lot on the line, especially after the high that Gilbert's running right now, because the last couple of wins they've had have been pretty significant.
Exactly. They've been decent. And we talked with Coach Ozzie about that, and you'll hear about that a little bit later. I've got one that's near and dear to my heart that's happening. And I'm very excited about this. Airport and Brooklyn Casey are playing tonight.
Oldest rivalry in the state.
82nd meeting.
Oh, I love that.
Between these two teams. It's insane. It's insane. And I would encourage us to throw the record books out here.
This is one of those. Because we can qualify this. This is a record book discard game. Yes, 100%.
Which both fan bases are going, thank you, because BC is 2-7, Airport is 1-7.
Doesn't matter.
But in South Carolina, though, that means Brooklyn Casey has clinched their playoff spot, and Airport can clinch a playoff spot with a win tonight at Brooklyn Casey.
Still a lot on the line.
And we got hit by, and we'll hear from Coach Shane Fiddler a little bit later in the program. I'm just dropping little nuggets of Easter eggs here, just dropping them along.
Yeah, that's what
we talked to him a little bit.
Industry term.
He hit us a little bit later on the artist formerly known as Twitter and let us know that there's a treasure trove of tape that was unearthed in the vault over at Eagle Stadium. And I looked at some of the dates on that tape. You're talking 1987. And he said, could we see a play or two that we saw on this film? Which means guys might be running the veer.
Oh, my God, yes.
Because I don't know what kind of offense Airport was running in 87, but I like to think it's the veer. And if there's anything from about, 90 to 93, you might get a heavy dose of the run because Deuce Staley was running the ball for the Eagles over the Brooklyn Casey Bearcats back then.
And he ended up running the ball for another type of Eagles later on in his career.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you.
He played for a lot of Eagles.
And another team in Pennsylvania. So it's amazing how this works out, that other one, because this is a game that really the record books are thrown out. It's the oldest rivalry in the Midlands, I do believe. I don't think I'm crazy. But it's
Shane
one
said
that.
Yeah, when he was here in the building.
It's one that I don't know how to explain this, because we can easily identify airports issues, and it's playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores. I can't easily identify what's happened with Brooklyn Casey this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Those lights were already turned on when I was heading downtown earlier today on some, business. So we'll see what happens tonight in that game. I don't know what the score is for that game. We talked about points. I mean,
if it's a points game, then it's not going to favor Airport, I will say.
Right. You need to play defense.
That does not favor them at that point in time.
100%. And you want another game that's going to favor defense? Dutch Fork and River Bluff tonight.
Oh, my goodness.
Flying just under the radar.
A Dutch Fork game flying under the radar. Honestly, I can non-facetiously say that is the first time we might have said that sentence on these airwaves.
So all 6 teams in that region have clinched a playoff spot, either in Class 5A, Division 1, or Division 2, which I floated that by somebody who may or may not have some knowledge about sports, and they called it the dumbest thing they've ever heard. Dutch Fork and Irmo are both undefeated. They're tied for the region crown, obviously first in the region. They'll close the regular season maybe for the region title next week. TBD, because the Silver Foxes are at River Bluff tonight. What if Blair Harden comes up and nips Dutch Fork, who's looking ahead to Irmo? Is Tom Knotts going to let his team look ahead?
So, here's the thing. Tom Knotts and all of his greatness as a head coach would not allow that. However, in this industry, Justin Hall, we have learned that the behavior of 14 to 18-year-old boys can sometimes be a little unpredictable, and maybe can be an uncontrolled variable that will allow for maybe predictable results to not follow through. That's something to look for. Staying in that region of doom, we got a pretty big game tonight. And our man Cale Wilson is out there right now. Lexington is at White Knoll. This is a big game to determine some maybe playoff seeding. Cale's at that game tonight for our game of the week. Cale, what do you have for us as we get ready to kick off here between White Knoll and Lexington?
What's up, guys? Yes, I am calling you from White Knoll here. I always forget how beautiful this stadium is, by the way.
Gorgeous scenery.
I love being at this stadium. There's a lot of big this game has very big implications. There's a couple under the radar college prospects playing here tonight too. The big name for White Knoll is obviously quarterback number 0, Landon Sharp, a senior. The senior night here for the Timberwolves. So they honored him, first person to be honored for senior night. And then also number 2, cornerback and free safety Devin Geronomi, who's currently committed to Richmond to play at the next level. He's also a senior as well. Yes. And as for the Wildcats, number 1, Lorenzo Patio, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Don't quote me on that. But he plays both ways. He's mostly a corner, but he can play receiver if needed. He's also a senior. He's going to have a big part in that Lexington defense. Lexington has been known for their defense throughout the year. And White Knoll has more been known, in my opinion, at least, for their offense. So I think the factor of this game is who wins the battle of Lexington's defense and White Knoll's offense. Because I think Lexington's offense tonight will have their match against this White Knoll defense. So I'm actually really excited, though, because these two teams have been rivals for a very long time. There was a little bit of talking during warm-ups. Both teams are in the locker rooms now, so a little over 15 minutes to kick off. But I'm really excited to see what this game has in store tonight for this region of doom.
Oh, we certainly do, too. And, Cale, for anyone interested in being able to view this game live as it happens, where can they do that?
Thank you for asking. I will be live streaming this game on Savage College Football on Instagram. If you want to come and watch the stream while you listen to the high school scoreboard show to get prepared for your college football Saturday tomorrow, I will be starting the stream in about 10 minutes.
Now that is how you plug, good sir. Good stuff there from Cale. We'll go ahead, take a quick break, and when we come back, Justin Hall, got to sit down with Coach Oz from Gilbert going into a really big game against Gray Collegiate tonight with a lot on the line and a lot of controversy behind Gray. But Gilbert is coming off of a big win against Airport at Airport Senior Day. They played on Saturday, a nice matinee for high school. But we'll go ahead and hear that conversation between Justin and Coach Oz heading into that game between Gilbert and Gray tonight. We'll listen to that when we return. All of that will give you some scoreboard updates, the latest from what's already happened from around the state of South Carolina. All that and more as you listen to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on The Game.
And welcome back into the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard Show right here on The Game. Justin Hall joined in studio right now, previewing tonight's matchup against Gray Collegiate and a few other things with Coach Oz from over at Gilbert.
Yes, sir.
Coach, glad you're with us. Been
Thank you.
tracking your team. We love talking about Gilbert America, and I know you love coaching
Yes,
there
sir.
too.
Yes, sir. No, it's an awesome place, and thank you for having me. It's a great place. The place I got at my first coaching gig at. Coach Leapart hired me as a youngin' from college, and I was able to kind of plant roots. So it's been great.
So we talk about Coach Leapart. We had him in here last week.
Yeah.
You know, he's your athletics director for your district,
Yeah.
and he mentioned you by name. Of course he did, because he still follows Gilbert very
Absolutely.
closely. When you're coaching at a place like Gilbert, I guess we'll start here. There is people like to use the word culture a lot,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's a culture around not only Gilbert football, but Gilbert athletics.
Yeah.
Winning in football, winning in basketball, winning at wrestling, and then winning in baseball. There's just a culture of winning there in a tight-knit community. kind of Americana high school personified, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. And I think the one thing that I think is really important in any high school sports, in any athletic department, and whether it's college or high school, is support of coaches for other coaches and their kids. And so one thing that, I take pride in is making sure, I coached basketball for 7 or 8 years. I was a head coach for 4 years. And, I coached track for 3 years. And one thing I always appreciated was, seeing coaches at your event. And so that's one thing for me that's always been huge is I taken my kids to softball, to baseball, to volleyball, to tennis, to really anything that they can go and look and watch and we can support them. Every kid needs to feel like, they have a level of a support and love from everybody. And so that's just the way of life in Gilbert. The expectation for everybody is to be successful. Sometimes it's not always your wins and losses, but lately there's been a lot of wins. So
that's a good thing,
Yep.
right? We're looking ahead to tonight's ball game, Gilbert and Gray Collegiate.
Yeah.
First of all, the slate tonight's loaded. I know
Yeah,
you're not looking.
absolutely.
I know you don't really look at other games, but there's some serious action going on. Good football. Good football on this first Friday of the month of November. But you guys are one of those. This is a big time region matchup now with Gray Collegiate. Both of you guys fighting for playoff position. As you look at this matchup, you guys are. I saw it on social media. There's going to be a lot of black in the stands, and you guys are wearing black. And the whole deal. When it's a matchup this big, you guys are coming off of 4 games in 15 days. How do you get your players right mentally for a game that's as big as this one coming down the stretch?
Well, try to keep things fresh and light. I think the beauty of it was those 4 games all brought some different challenges and some different things. We had a game plan for those 4 games in different ways. And so we had, we finished 3-1 in that 4-game stretch. It should have been 4-0. We lost a game that we felt like we could have played a lot better in. But we got to take into account these are high school kids that still had tests and quizzes and things in school, and we're pumping and we're practicing and we're lifting weights and we're getting a rehab and we're doing all this stuff. And I think that they were just worn out.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the biggest things is we took Monday as more of a mental day, did some physical things on the practice field, but we wanted to really try to teach what the game plan is. We spent time in the classroom on Monday and Tuesday and on Wednesday, and we just made sure that the biggest thing is everybody this part of the year is beat up, but the really good teams and teams that make deep runs are sharp mentally, and so we've been trying to push that home all week long.
4-4 on the year, and you're going into this final stretch. And you guys, again, that 3-1 stretch over those 4 was important for y'all. You're 2 weeks away from being done with your first regular season as the head coach. We had Coach Pelham in here from White Knoll last week, and he talked about the difference in the team from last year's state title appearance to now. For you as a coach, how have you grown in these 8 weeks? Is it different than what you thought it would be taking over for Lee Part? How has that been for you through the first year?
Well, I've grown a lot, and Coach Lee Part has played a huge part in that. I still use him as a sounding board and a mentor for me. I think the biggest thing is, when I first got this job, I told myself over and over again, you don't have to be like Coach Lee Part. Like, he is himself. He's a legend. If you go chasing after him, then you're going to lose you.
Yeah.
And I think the beginning of this season, I was saying that, but in some of the things I was trying to do, I was trying to replicate him. And I told myself, I can't do that. There's no way to. And so as we had a rough patch to start. We started off 1-3, and part of that was we played some good football teams.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule right now.
So,
you didn't play easy competition, Coach.
Yeah, so we were battle tested, and I had to continue to tell myself and the players that we needed to give each other grace and understand that yeah, we're 1-3, but we're fine. And I felt that we were fine, that we had some things that we had to fix. And then me personally, I had to get better. And so instead of going there and blaming kids for things not happening or blaming coaches for things not happening, I got back into the nitty gritty and focused on me and how could I be a better coach to my coaches and to my players. And the hurricane happened And for a lot of people, it was terrible, it was devastating. A bunch of people lost power, had all that stuff. But from a football aspect, it allowed us to reset a little bit as a team. We were able to practice after a few days off and be able to just focus on the little things, focus on the simplicity of our game plans. And then from there, I think we turned that corner offensively, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned that corner as a coach of understanding, a lot of times the coaches try to make their players fit them. And I had to do a better job of fitting our players in the things I was asking them to do, and making sure that that we were pushing them in the right way, but also when creating our game plans, not being pigeonholed by, I want to do this, we need to do this. Like, they need to be able to be successful in what they do. And that was my focus, and we got better at that.
When you look at the schedule, you just mentioned that 1-3 start. That's a road game at Lexington. That's a road game at Wilson. And then it's 2 home games against River Bluff and North Augusta. I can tell you just off the top of my head that I don't think North Augusta's lost a game yet. And
I think lost just one. Just one to Lexington, yeah.
And River Bluff, I think, if any, they've lost one. Yeah. And Lexington, I think, has lost 2, maybe 3. So that's a tough stretch. That's playing up in comp, and of course North Augusta's in the region that you're in now. But then you get into region play, and you start off 2-1 in region play. Now you're 2-2 after that loss to South Aiken. I want to go back to that Brooklyn-Casey game.
Yeah.
Because Elijah and I are in the studio, and we're actually watching this game because Brooklyn-Casey streams their games. We love a good YouTube stream if we can get it. And that game's back and forth. You know, you guys, it was one of those games where after about 2 possessions, I looked at the drive chart at the end of this game. Oh my gracious, it was insane. The only time a team didn't score was end of half and end of game. But it's a 2-possession ball game at one point. And Elijah and I look at each other and say, they're going to have to either kick an onside kick and get it back, or they're going to have to get a defensive stop, which doesn't look like it's going to happen. Get a turnover. Something crazy's got to happen. Well, something crazy happened. And that you kick an onside kick, you don't get it. Penalty. You re-kick it. Your kicker, when I say punches the ball, I mean that ball hit. I think I heard it echo off the pads in the studio, and you recover it. You go down, you take the lead. Did you guys go for 2 there?
Yeah, at the very end.
So you go for 2 at the very end to get a lead late, and then you're up by 1. BC has a chance down there, and I don't know if they did. It was a very Nico Iamaliava thing. I just don't think they knew the time situation.
And they kicked it and missed it.
That kind of game. What does it do for the psyche of your players, knowing the rough road they had early?
Yeah.
But then they go on the road, back and forth, winning a game like that. What has it done for your team mentally this season?
Well, I think it definitely showed our capabilities. I think a lot of times, players got a new coach, and you're struggling some. You're trying to figure out, what can we be? And offensively, we struggled early. Our defense held us down for a while. And, I told our defensive staff every week, we're going to come play 2. Just give us time. And, we had a good week the previous week. And I'm going to be honest, I felt very, very good about our game plan going into that week. We have played them so many times.
Oh, my goodness.
And
it's a rivalry now.
It's a rivalry. I think both sides strongly dislike each other. I'm not saying hate. I still dislike
which
each
is
other.
crazy.
Which is crazy because they really – it's not the same, fan base or kid pool. Like it's.
Has it? I mean, honestly, do you think it's replaced the Airport BC rivalry, or is it just on that level in a different way? Because I went to Airport.
Yeah, I just think it's on that level in a different way. I think there's us never beating them in their place and them never beating them in our place. And when we were in the same region together, it was a lot of times it was us 2 at the top. And so every game we've played against them, really in 3A, was a high stakes game. It was a really important game. And we always felt like, that we could beat them at their place, and they felt that they could have some. And so it was always something. And this year, one of my goals was, of course, to win every game, but also in the same way, win some of these rivalry games that have meant so much. And we didn't get the Lexington one, and that one hurt. But this one, I just felt great. The offensive staff and me, we came together, had a great plan. I thought the defensive plan was great. Now, it didn't work out perfectly. But we get in that situation, and, our kicker kind of onside kicks it, and I'm yelling, like, bro, we're not doing that right now. Like, let's give our defense just one more shot to get a stop. And then he kicks it off with a kid, and I'm like, great job. It was, I mean, we couldn't draw it up any better than
High
that,
football
right?
IQ.
I want to say, and we got, man, our quarterback played great. He had
Yeah.
6 touchdown passes,
Mhm.
and I think me and him were really in sync just all week with what the expectation was for each play. And sometimes the football is like it. You create these plays, you practice plays, and I felt good that these plays would work in this situation, and it just worked out perfectly. And then we had both our backs were just war daddies all day
Mhm.
long. Our tight end was great on it, and we had just kids make plays all night long. And when you can have 50 points and close to 509 yards of offense, you're
It's a
probably
good
gonna
night.
have a good day. And at the very end, when we're talking about going in for 2, I had made that choice already. Like there was no question that we were going in for 2. And we had practice and play all week long and really all year long, and it was a good time for it. And our kids have been so upbeat afterwards, just because maybe there was some inherent weight that was on their shoulders from all these past teams that lost at BC, and that weight's gone. We proved that we can go in there and win. And our kids, man, they work so hard. And I know the defense, they got a lot of flack for all those points. But I told them at halftime, I said, guys, there's going to be an opportunity for y'all to get a stop. Just when it shows up, y'all have to do it. And that was that last drive, and it worked out.
So you got 2 games left. You got Gray tonight. You got Aiken on the road the last week of the year, which happens to be the 8th of November this year. The old football saying is they'll remember November. So as you look to tonight's game against Gray, if you could really quickly, biggest key for you guys to win this ball game tonight would be what?
Clean, and clean in the way that we play. We've had some penalty issues in the last month of the year. And so we got to be better there and stop hurting ourselves. The turnovers in the same way. We've done a good job in the last month of that. Let's keep that going. And then on the defensive side, they're high powered offense. So we got to be clean in our reads, clean in our plays. And when there's going to be tackles being made, make them. Let's try to play as clean as possible, and we should be fine.
Gilbert Indians trying to get back, and they will get back to another appearance in the playoffs. This time 4A instead of 3A, which will be a different animal, so to speak. But looking forward to watching you guys tonight, and then the last week of the season, and then into the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Coach Ozzie joining us from Gilbert, America, making the short drive up. Short drive to downtown Columbia. We appreciate it. We'll be back with more of the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard Show right here on The Game.
When you need orthopedic or neurosurgical care, you want easy access to experienced physicians at the lowest cost possible. You'll find it all at
We are back. Back, I tell you. And we have never been more back on the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the game. We already have some score updates to get to you. But before we do that, most teams in the state are playing their last game tonight. Some here, like, in the Midlands, in our region of doom, are still going to be playing another game after this to avoid, an excessive streak of weeks without playing before the playoffs. But with that being said, our undefeated club, one of the most prestigious institutions that exists in the great state of South Carolina, has only 12 members left. Well, Elijah, who could that be? Well, now it's time to reveal the final teams still remaining in the undefeated club. And we're going to start.
Never gets old.
It never gets old. Never. You want to be in this bad boy as long as possible, because I'm telling you, the Gatorade is flowing. The music is bumping. If you're hearing Fitty, then you know that your season's going really well. And if you're not seeing Ed Bird, as much as we love Ed Bird, he walks into the undefeated club and he grabs you by the shoulder. Buddy, you don't have to go home. You can't stay here. But these are the teams that have avoided the Ed Bird visit. Starting in 5A, where it's our most crowded bunch yet. We still have 5 teams in 5A that have yet to take an L on the season, starting with Northwestern. Tonight, Justin, they're at 5-4 Indian Land. Maybe not much of a test, but this could be a ceremonial game for Northwestern to get that win number 10 and go into the playoffs while not just winning your region, which I believe they already have secured.
Yeah.
But not just as region champs, but as a pristine member of the undefeated club where you reach platinum level. Platinum level is when you go the entire regular season without getting kicked out of this bad boy. They can secure that with a win at Indian Land tonight. Irmo taking on 4-4 Chapin. Now, Chapin's taken some L's, but at the same time, they've taken them not without a fight because they score a lot of points. Can Irmo's defense keep them at bay and make this a comfortable win? That's one to watch tonight. Dutch Fork is at 7-1 River Bluff. We've talked about how improved the Gators have been this year. Dutch Fork is an absolute power. That's the best defense in the state by far. No one scores. No one simply just scores and gets in the end zone on the Dutch Fork Silver Foxes. Can River Bluff do it enough tonight to keep it competitive? We'll see, but the Silver Foxes, they're still ITC. Sumter at home tonight, taking on 5-4 Westwood. Somerville has to go on the road, also playing a 5-4 opponent. They're at 5-4 Fort Dorchester. Every single undefeated team in 5A is playing against an opponent at 500 or better tonight. In 4A, only one undefeated team remains, and that's Westside, quarterbacked by Cutter Woods, not just a Mr. Football finalist, but is a South Carolina Gamecock commit. He's pretty good at airing that thing out, but they have a big test tonight, Justin Hall. They're taking on 6-1 Wren at home. One to keep an eye on. In 3A, only one undefeated team left as well. That's Mountain View Prep, but they're on a bye, so they don't have to worry about seeing Ed Bird tonight because you know what?
There you go.
You can't lose if you don't play. In 2A, we have 2 undefeated teams left. However, after tonight, there will only be one because those 2 teams play each other. That's Saluda taking on 8-0 Batesburg-Leesville. Batesburg-Leesville on the road at 7-0 Saluda. 2 teams enter the Platinum Club. Only one gets to stay. The other one, well, they'll be getting a tap on the shoulder from Ed Bird tonight. Again, you can't go home. You don't have to go home. You just can't stay here. No undefeated teams in 1A in the high school league. But in Skeeza, we'll move to 4A. Hammond, previously on Upset Watch, they are taking on Cardinal Newman at 2-7 on the road. That one's kind of escalated a little bit. We'll tell you more about that here in just a moment. There are no more undefeated teams in the 3A classification of Skeeza. In the 2A classification, there's one left. That's PD Academy. Tonight, they're at 2-5-1 Dillon Christian. I expect to be calling out their name next week still. No more undefeated teams in Skeeza 1A. Then we get to the 8-man Skeeza classifications. Skeeza 8-man Region 1. We have Richard Wynn Academy. I mean, they put the win in Richard Wynn because they have yet to Richard lose. They're taking on 7-1 Wardlaw Academy tonight. There's a lot of teams in the club tonight, Justin Hall, that are having some good tests. This could be a Ed Bird watch as we'll start calling some of these games. Maybe Richard Wynn.
I think a lot of these teams are on Ed Bird watch. And I tell you, a team that we didn't think would be on Ed Bird Watch, and this is don't let Mark hear this, by the way, out in Chapin. But you mentioned Ermos playing Chapin. Got an update from him on the old Twitter. Chapin drove right down the field to the 8-yard line. It was 4th and 4, and they get stopped. Ermo takes over at the 8.
Got to convert on
4
those
minutes
in a
into the
game
ball
like
game.
this. I love the aggressiveness.
Yeah.
I love the aggressiveness to go for it
Yeah,
because
you're
you're
not
not going to
beating
beat
them.
Irma with field goals.
That's exactly right. We do have an update from over across the river. Actually, I'm on that side of the river. You are not. So it's across the river from
That's
you.
right. We're across the river from me,
currently.
not you.
Yes, not me. I can just, not have to deal with water on the way there. Brooklyn Casey leads early 7-0 over the Eagles of Airport. Brooklyn Casey just decided, we're going to run the ball tonight. And
Smart.
good luck stopping it. And it's, no stopping it on the first drive. And then went for an onside kick because it's a rivalry game.
Why not?
And they didn't get it. So Airport does have the ball on BC's side of the 50.
Advantageous
Down
field position,
7.
if you will.
Advantageous field position. And so interesting of a strategy considering Airport can't really move the ball with any sort of consistency right now.
Yeah.
And that's, again, a lot of youth and inexperience. But you're giving a guy who's got some talent. I mean, J.E.D. does have some offers already on the table from some a group of five program, and they just completed a screen pass down to the 15. So Airport's trying to even this game up at 7. Again, that no undefeated club implications here.
None.
These two teams are currently residing in the have been defeated a lot club, which is not fun. Opposite of the undefeated club is not where you want to be. Ed Bird doesn't patrol that one. Who at the station would be the bouncer for the has been defeated frequently club?
That'd be Terry Ford or Dave Adair.
Yeah,
I mean,
call.
Ed Bird says Dave Adair, and but I think they take turns. I think they're on shift. I think they kind of swap back and forth.
Captain Dave doesn't have time for that.
No. Well, Captain
Dave's too busy jamming, and
he's too busy jamming, which is why he's not a great bouncer, right? As somebody who has once worked as a bouncer at music venues in Nashville, Tennessee, I can tell you can't be jamming. You got to be on your P's and Q's, all right? There are underagers across the city that are going to try to come in and give you these bogus fake IDs. You got to be sharp up here. You got to be able to tell the fake from the real. And you got to be able to kick somebody out if kicking somebody out is necessary, which means being able to talk your fair share of junk and be able to move some bodies. I was never going to be a great offensive lineman, but I mean, I can move somebody out of the building. This would not be describing Ford either. So we'd hire Dave Adair for the brawn, Terry Ford for the brains, and this undefeated or this losing a lot club, needless to say, runs pretty rampant. It's
be fair,
lawless, if you will.
Once you're in it, you can't be thrown out of it.
No.
So it's not as if you're having to remove people from the club.
No. So you know how I like to frequently reference Supersonics closing time when talking about the undefeated club. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. It's the opposite in this. It's more like Hotel California by the Eagles, right? You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave, right?
Yes.
You can't lose a football game.
November 1st, and we got our first Eagles reference on the program. That's what I'm talking about. That, by the way, one of the best concerts you can ever go to. I know we got to get back to Oh, it's so good.
That's one of my favorite groups. Listen to them growing up all the time. I was a favorite.
But that's post Glenn Fry. Post Glenn Fry.
Still.
His son Deacon was singing his songs that night, and Vince Gill. But still, I mean, it's like
great live.
Trotting them out. They did like 2.5 hours straight, no stop, and they're all like 60. Number one. Number two, you might as well have put them on Spotify and just played it over the CLA speakers because it just sounded exactly the same. And I wasn't exactly close to Joe Walsh, but I was close enough to watch Joe Walsh jam on Hotel California.
Yes.
Things that will live in my mind forever.
For the rest
That's
of your life.
one of them.
For the rest of your life. If I were to have a similar experience, I don't think I'm ever forgetting that one either.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, we do have a couple of scores here for you. I have one. Do you know who, Mr. Campbell, do you know who Hartsville is playing tonight?
Who is Hartsville playing? Are they playing in Kellytown? I think that's the most important question. Are they residing
they are
in Kellytown? Because no one just walks into Kellytown and wins football games.
Well, Kellytown travels. But
true.
To that point, they are playing. Kellytown is a mindset. They are playing in Kellytown, and they are playing South Florence.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Hartsville had a 26-yard touchdown pass. Their opening drive, 10 plays, 67 yards, 3.5 minutes. They lead 7-0 over South Florence.
Woo! South Florence on upset watch. One of the most talented teams in the state. Oh my goodness. 7-0 Hartsville. That's one to keep an eye on because that one can get really freaky later on in the night. We're going to keep a pin in that. We got to take a break here real quick. When we come back, Justin's got more scores. We have some developments. One of those teams in said undefeated club trying to stay in it. They were down early. Is Hammond still trailing Cardinal Newman? We'll get into that and a lot more on the other side. You're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on The Game. That's right. Final segment of hour number one. Man, time flies when you're having fun. How are we almost an hour through this show?
I know.
Goodness gracious. Well, with an hour being through the show, that means we're probably at the end of the first quarter of a lot of games. We'll go ahead and start with some of the latest developments we had. I mean, the last update that we gave, Justin Hall, Hammond was down 8-6 to Cardinal Newman, a 2-7 Cardinal Newman team, mind you, that struck first against 9-0 Hammond, a team that's still ITC. But there's been a couple of developments kind of occur since we last gave that update.
Yeah, they've developed quite a bit. It's 42-14 Hammond at the half. So we can cancel
14 last I looked.
Listen, it was conditions were favorable for the upset. Since then, things have changed. The barometric pressure has risen. The low pressure system has moved offshore.
Oh, Lord.
And that ain't gonna happen. She ain't coming.
God.
So Hammond is up 42-14. They're staying in the club. AJ Brand, according to Mark on Twitter, AJ Brand doing AJ Brand things on Twitter. Yeah, that's a big boy play right there. That's speed on the outside, 19 yards out. And PAT, no good.
Oh,
Careful.
I mean, you don't want to mess around with any type of special team snafus in any game. I mean, I like to allude to one of my favorite case studies in the history of football, even if it's in the National Football League, of the 2008 San Diego Chargers. Yes, kids, they used to be in San Diego, where they were number one in total offense in terms of yards gained, number one in total defense in terms of fewest yards given up. Guess who didn't make the playoffs that year, Justin Hall? Yes.
That would be the Phillip Rivers-led San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, because they had the worst special teams unit in football, and they lost a lot of one-score games because of that. So if anyone wants to undermine the importance of the special teams units, look no further than that example. Not saying that's going to be the reason why Chapin comes back and wins this game, but I am saying it's not something to be overlooked. But Irmo up to an early lead after Chapin has a chance to strike first. That could be one where if it does get out of hand late, we're going to look at that stretch and be like, could things have been different if Chapin scored first? Maybe, but that's already playing behind the 8 ball are the Eagles.
Never a good thing for you if you are in a situation where you need to get the upset, is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You can't squelch away early opportunities. Got another one for you. South Florence has tied it up with Hartsville. It's 7-7 now in Kellytown. Always just Kellytown is Kellytown, and there's no real other way to talk about it.
There ain't no walking into that place and winning. How about that? There ain't no just walking into Kellytown.
Yeah, it's like Baton Rouge at night, which they get a lot of those games.
Good parallel. Good parallel there, and something that Lane Kiffin isn't fond of in terms of trends in SEC programming.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, how often has Ole Miss been on a 3-letter network before this year?
Not frequently.
So that's my thing. And we got a couple more scores, by the way. A lot of 0-0s. Batesburg-Leesville's up 7-0 early on Saluda. We're watching it.
Hey, strike first.
Brooklyn Casey's driving again, about to go up 14-0 on Airport. We'll stop talking about that game for the duration of the program.
I'm watching it right now, too. Brooklyn Casey doing a lot of no huddle. There's a lot of quick on the ball stuff going on right now too. I don't know if that was to be expected, but
playing on that youth and inexperience on all sides of the ball for Airport right now. But to the point, Ole Miss has been on ABC how many times already this year? Same for South Carolina. How often was South Carolina on the CBS Game of the Week?
Hardly ever.
Right? Hardly ever. Georgia last year. I remember the Alabama in 2019.
Mm-hmm. That was one of those.
That was the first time in a really long time. Maybe Georgia 2017, I think. I think it was part of that doubleheader night where Bama and LSU played the second game on that doubleheader. And in the Spurrier years, there were some times on CBS. The way the schedule is done now, I get fans want night games. I get it. I think that's going to be the difference tomorrow night when South Carolina beats Texas A&M. Boom.
Calling your shot early. I can respect it.
No, absolutely. But noon on ABC isn't bad. No. I mean, go back and look at the number that Carolina and LSU did at noon. I mean, at one point, I think at the end of the game, 7 million people were watching that game. College football.
A noon kick.
At like 3:00 in the afternoon when some of us are driving to a wedding. You can do really good numbers and expose your program to who it needs to be exposed to, regardless of what time the game is at. And for South Carolina fans, they don't have to worry about that because they're going to bring the energy at noon or 3:30, at 4:15, at 6 a.m. They don't care. So if I'm Lane Kiffin, I don't think you need to be worried about what time the game is starting. I mean, maybe it would help your players heal up more if they had a little bit more time and started at 7:30. Then maybe they all wouldn't be dropping like flies on the field. Maybe that would help you.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? I want to follow the Shane Beamer line of speaking here. I hope they're all okay. I just hope they're okay.
I do too. I hope they're really okay when he goes to Gainesville at the end of the year.
Then they will not be okay.
Because they're all going to go to Gainesville too. Let's be serious.
It'll be a mass exodus.
Oh, absolutely. Brooklyn Casey, the field is flipped. I was wondering what was going on the stream. The field is flipped. They're starting the second quarter already over at Airport in Brooklyn Casey because there's a lot of running the football in that ball game. They got 1st and 10 on the 14 of Airport as we speak. Arnie and South Point is taking place as well, Mr. Campbell.
Points.
Ooh, yeah, a lot of them, and they're for South Point. It's 6 minutes left to go in the first quarter, and South Point is up 14-0.
Yeah, it's not
I'm
good
assuming
news
Will
for
Wilson-
R&E.
I'm assuming Will Wilson is playing, but again, South Point's already clinched the region. South Point's a really good football team. A
Dominant.
really good
It's a
football team. They're
dominant
better
football
than
team.
R&E.
Yeah.
They are better than R&E.
This is one of those
And
that you're really, if you're R&E, you're hoping Will Wilson becomes Superman again, which he has for a lot this year. Will Wilson, real deal. Not going
no
off
question.
the company line, but at the same time, you need him to be more than just the real deal for them to beat South Point, just because South Point is that deep and that talented.
Right. Hunter Kinder Tyler, the Fighting Rogers, they lead Ridge Spring Monetta early 14-0. 4 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Oh, that's a hyphen
Again,
game.
Hunter Kinder Tyler is in position to, I believe, claim a region title tonight. Again, I'm going to have to peruse the work of Uncle Lou Bajak here throughout the evening to make sure. South Florence and Hartsville still tied at 1 at the end of the first quarter.
Tied at 1?
Looking at this, or excuse me, tied at 7 at the end of the first quarter. That 1 is the first quarter.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't kick an extra point unless you get the touchdown first. That's how math
if we had a 1-1 tie in American football, then that's Scorigami City, my friend.
We're breaking news on that one, right? And Batesburg-Leesville still leads 7-0 over Saluda.
Keep an eye on that.
Let's see. Ball is at the 26-yard line for the Batesburg-Leesville Panthers. 3rd and 17 upcoming for Batesburg-Leesville. Again, not an easy. We talk about Kellytown. Saluda is not an easy place to play.
No.
At all.
Not in a
They
game
play
like
really
this.
well
Not in a game like this magnitude.
Yeah, they really play well at home. Boiling Springs leads Burns right now 9-7. 2 minutes to go in the first quarter.
The Road Warriors of Burns.
Well, out of footprint.
We see if they can claw back. But we'll wrapping up hour number 1 here. Hour number 2 starts next. Games are at the end of their first quarter, going into the second. We'll give you more score updates, breakdowns of the biggest matchups tonight, and so much more. You're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the Game. And now here's a question before we get into hour number 2. And that question is, why reboot the internet when you can rebuild it? Because, my friends, the internet as we know it has been built for the last 50 years. And that was back when landlines ruled and cable TV was the future. A lot has changed in 50 years. Anyone who's been around for the last 50 years know things have changed pretty significantly. Your internet can too. It's now time for the internet as we don't know it, right? This is where your digital life is never interrupted. Uploads are as fast as downloads. The metaverse isn't just a concept, but a part of life. It's time for 100% fiber optic internet that is built from the ground up. This is an internet built for small businesses that want to make a big impact. Internet built for families with smartphones, video games, voice assistants, tablets, nanny cams, you name it, all online, all at the same time. An internet built for the most hopeful of things. That's the future. Lumos Internet, built for the future. See your future at lumosfiber.com/future. Hour number 2 of the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here now on the Game. I'm Elijah Campbell. He is airport graduate Justin Hall. Behind the glass is the one adult in the room. That would be Ed Bird, making sure we don't get in any trouble, making sure we stay on time, and facilitating all of these calls, because we're going to be getting them a lot throughout the night. Starting right now with our man, Cale Wilson. We'll go ahead and get right to him because he's streaming this game on Instagram at Savage College Football right now. That is Lexington at White Knoll right now. Cale's in the Wolves' den. Cale, what do you got for us? Seems like the first quarter is already over in the game that you're at.
Yes, the first quarter ended on White Knoll scored their opening touchdown. They're on a touchdown on their opening drive that began from the 41-yard line on a fantastic kickoff return by Devin Jeranomi, which was capped off by a 6-yard touchdown run by number 6 Shaquez Montgomery. And then as the second quarter started, Tyon Fanning for White Knoll put in a half-yard touchdown run to put the Timberwolves up 14-0. Lexington went 3-and-out on their opening drive, getting sacked and a tackle for loss on their first 2 plays of the drive, which were both by Caleb Kaufman, number 18 on White Knoll. So far, White Knoll is dominating the Wildcats in this region matchup.
Defensively, Cale, real quick before we let you go, I mean, Coach Pelham's teams pride themselves on defense. So does Dustin Curtis at Lexington. What's making this White Knoll defense a little more stout than Lexington's to start?
So honestly, White Knoll is just coming in with these very creative blitzes. And the fact of the matter is they're just getting off the ball so much quicker than Lexington is. And the problem for Lexington's defense is 2 words: Landon Sharp. There have been multiple times where Lexington looks like they're going to bring him down for a sack, and Sharp just makes some magical moves in the backfield to get out of pressure and let the ball go and complete it to Devin Jeranomi or one of his other receivers.
Wow, good stuff. That's one to keep an eye on, too. Look, White Knoll doesn't lose many multi-score leads, but we'll see if Lexington has got anything up their sleeve. Thank you very much, Cale. You can keep up with that at Savage College Football on Instagram. We'll be getting updates from Cale throughout the night. Cale, look forward to seeing you at halftime, my friend.
Thank you guys so much. See you then.
Good stuff. Wow. So early on, Justin Hall, White Knoll, that's a defense that you spot them 14 points, then I don't like your chances of clawing out of it. Coach Curtis is going to have to dig something deep within his team to pull out some offensive production or maybe force some turnovers, do something here to maybe flip the momentum a little bit.
Yeah, something to flip the momentum. Again, you're looking at a rival. This is a rivalry game. This is an original rivalry game. We talk about River Bluff and Lexington. This one's one that goes back a ways, not as long as some others, but a game that's going to be punch for punch. I talked with Terry today at 1:30. There are going to be a lot of, I mean, these are high school kids, so I use this term as a metaphor. A lot of bar fights, just a lot of chairs broken over people's head.
They ain't old enough to be able to partake in said bar fights, but we are fighting over the influence of Gatorade.
Yeah, can they even watch Roadhouse? That's the question. I don't even.
Some of them probably can't.
No, they probably don't even know what we're talking about, and probably don't even know who Patrick Swayze is at this point.
They hear Roadhouse and they say Texas Roadhouse.
I love the rolls.
Rolls are.
That's
great.
probably what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
But that's not what we're alluding
sounds really
to.
good right now.
Yeah.
Steak dinner. Ed knows what we're talking
Ed Bird
about.
had a steak dinner tonight.
Man, and a Werther's to follow it up. That's he brought some in last week.
That's the only way to live, brother. That's the only way to live.
Made the show better. By the way, I do want to mention this. Tonight is the induction, before we get into more scores. Yes. Tonight is the induction of the Gamecock Hall of Fame inductees. Some of those names include Melvin Ingram, Pharaoh Cooper, or as Steve Spurrier used to say, Pharaoh Cooper, and Tiffany Mitchell, who was a grounds layer for how great these women's basketball teams are, and she has had a good WNBA career as well, and obviously had a great career here at Carolina. Foundation. And Tommy Moody, all of them are getting inducted in the Hall of Fame tonight. And I remember what Hall of Fame weekend was like for Tommy. So that's a really great thing for him, and it's for his family, for Casey, his girls, and his grandkids, just to get to see the impact that he had on the university and a thing that he loved so much. To get inducted into it. Just want to mention that before we get too much further into the program. I just perused Mike Uva's piece over at Gamecock Central about it, and
awesome.
That is really good. So if you haven't read it yet, go to Gamecock Central. I can say that on these programs, and read that piece from Mike Uva, because from all the way up in the Northeast, he did a great job on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no one more deserving than Tommy, and he'd be absolutely thrilled to be inducted into the Hall of Fame that he helped run and helps
Yeah.
put people in for so long, it's only fitting that the most Gamecock of Gamecocks to ever walk this earth gets to be a part of that. So that's really cool. That's something to keep in mind tonight. And that's why in a night like tonight, with Tommy getting inducted into the Gamecock Sports Hall of Fame, don't be surprised if his alma mater, AC Flora, puts up 50.
Well, they are in a good one against Camden. And again, you're talking about the history of Camden, Zimp Stadium, but AC Flora's got history too. Tommy, a proud graduate. Fly, you Falcons, fly. Last check, 15-14. Roper Winsky, my guy, has already got 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter. So careful there. Got an update from Mark on Twitter. A.J. Brand scrambles 15 yards for the touchdown. How about this one? You ready? I don't know where he pulled this number, but I like it. That rush puts him over 10,000 yards from scrimmage in his career.
Oh, A.J. Brand's played a lot of football over there at Irmo. He's won them a lot of football games, and he's picked up a lot of yards, over 10,000 now to be exact. Whenever we allude to A.J. Brand and his productivity as an Irmo Yellow Jacket, we can attribute that to the number 10,000.
Let's see. Batesburg-Leesville is still up 7-0 into the first quarter, thanks to Chris Deering for that one. A 2-point conversion attempt is good for Hunter Kiner Tyler. They lead 22-0 in the first quarter.
Woo!
The Fighting Rogers are on top over Ridge Spring Monetta.
Winning the Hyphen Bowl there.
Yes, they are. Northwestern leads Indianland 14-0. Thanks to Chris on Twitter for that one. Looking for a few more here as I scroll through. R&E's got the ball again, but they're struggling. Go ahead.
Yeah. One of the games we talked about at the end of last week's show in terms of some of these small town games that are going to have big time expectations or big time results and implications on the line. We talked about Newberry and Swansea. Swansea, one of the best stories in the state. They've taken on a really good Newberry team tonight. Ooh. Swansea had a chance, down 14-0, to get on the board and chip into that lead. They're on the Newberry 10. This is from my man, John Carlos, who is currently taking photos of the game. He's a freelance photographer, taking photos of the game right now. They went for it on 4th down on a fake field goal. Didn't work. Touchdown Newberry right after that. It's 21-0 Newberry over Swansea. 10:46 to go in quarter number 2.
Ooh.
Tough.
No, that's tough. That's tough. Yeah. But Newberry, again, another team that's really good is Newberry. And that's a tough break for Swansea.
Maybe some of the early season Swansea Magic, they just might have emptied the clip on the Magic bag.
Maybe.
I'm afraid the clock might be striking midnight for Cinderella.
I think so. How about this one? Thanks to Ian on Twitter for this one. Again, he's not tweeting at me. I just follow him, and so it helps. Hartsville, 21. South Florence, 14. DeMarion Coe's 78-yard kickoff return for touchdown. Zay Hickman caught the kickoff and then flipped it to Coe.
Oh, I love it. What Reggie Bush tried to do in the 2005 or 2006, it was January of 06, national championship game. It didn't work, and it's since become one of the more infamous plays in the history of college football. Worked a little better, I would say, for Hartsville.
I would argue it did.
Yeah,
I think Kellytown gets weird. 21-14. There was a fumble. It's true.
You don't.
Batesburg-Leesville has fumbled on their own 33. Saluda recovers. 1st and 10. Tigers. Chance to even up the ball game here. Short field, turnovers. I'm telling you, turnover margin matters. I don't know if you heard what Tyler was talking about on his program earlier today. The Gamecocks, when they don't get a turnover, are 1-8.
Oh.
Under Shane Beamer. I believe that's the number.
When they don't force a turnover.
When they don't force a turnover. Yes. Okay. When they do not force a turnover. When they do not force the other team to give them the football off of their own accord. They are 1-8. And the only win was the Duke's Mayo Bowl, when they didn't need a turnover to take it to Mac Brown.
And Drake May. And for Shane Beamer to get a Mayo bath. I'm sure he's not forgotten that.
And a concussion. Kudos of the.
He did get a concussion. That cooler full of that Gatorade cooler full of mayo definitely drilled the back of his head. I remember watching that even in Tennessee where I was working. I remember watching that and being like, "Oh, he's gonna be seeing stars after that." Put Shane in concussion protocol. I wasn't
absolutely. Into the first quarter, Greenwood is a Hillcrest. Greenwood's quietly a really good football team.
Yeah,
and
under the radar, they keep winning games, man. They take care of business.
They're up 14-0 on Hillcrest right now. Looking at time of possession, is this correct? And Greenwood's had the ball for 4 minutes in the first quarter, and they lead 14-0.
I'm telling you, there might not be a more useless stat in football than time of possession. Only rarely does it matter, because you know what's more important than having the ball for a long time, Justin Hall?
Scoring when you have it.
Yes, and moving the football. If you have the ball for half the game and you don't move it at all, and the ball stays on your side of the field, then that big old advantage you have in time of possession doesn't really do you much. But if you're Greenwood, you only have the ball for 4 minutes and you turn those into a lot of points, and the other team's not turning them into points, then you're in pretty good shape. And Greenwood is, like we mentioned earlier, it's a team that's quietly rolling through the rest of the season, just taking care of business. They don't need the attention. They don't need the love. They're just taking care of business.
How about this one? R&E is on the board. 3:20 left to go in the first quarter. A touchdown pass from Will Wilson. It's 14-6. The extra point attempt was blocked.
Oh,
what is it about this season?
We've seen so many blocked extra points. Beamer ball has become infectious throughout this great state.
How many times have we talked about a PAT being missed, or a point after being blocked, or going for 2 and you don't get it? What is going on in this state this season? It's the story. If not for so many great football teams, it'd be the story of the year.
Yeah, it makes for some unpredictable football games. It makes for some wilder finishes. I will concede. However, you got to take advantage of the point after touchdown, man. You can't miss out on PATs.
There's no question about that. You can't miss it. You can't miss out on those. Ooh, that's a good point. By the way, they're scoreless with Wade Hampton of the Upstate. 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, because Gaffney cannot play a normal football game.
Nope. Which means tonight, even if they win, because they've won all but last week. So Gaffney, when they got beat by Dorman, Gaffney is a really good football team. That is a defensive juggernaut. They may not like to score a lot, but they also really don't like playing just a normal bleeping football game. It has to get weird at some point. It has to get weird at some point, or go to overtime or multiple overtimes. So yeah, even if they are the better team than Wade Hampton on paper, would not be surprised to see if we're talking about this game at the end of night because of some weird stuff happening. This is like the Twilight Zone. If the Twilight Zone was a football team in the state of South Carolina, it's the Gaffney.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Chesney leads Landrum 9-6. Batesburg Leesville fumbled on their own 33, but that's okay because KD Witt comes up with the interception in the end zone for Batesburg Leesville. So it's still 7-0, and the Panthers have the ball back again. They escape. They're 1 for 1. They break even on the turnovers there. Doesn't come back to bite them then.
Hey, what's more important than turnover margin? There's a stat that Seth Emerson's been keeping up with over the Athletic and the SEC. And Jay and I talked about it last week. It's not just turnover margin, it's sudden change margin. It's what you do with those turnovers in terms of converting them to points. And when you're on defense, when your offense turns the ball over, do you keep the other team from being advantageous? That's a big W for Batesburg Leesville in the sudden change margin category. The sudden change margin category in games like this, where it's undefeated versus undefeated late in the season, can be the difference between winning or losing. And right now, if you're a believer in that metric and in that stat, and you're a Batesburg Leesville fan or grad or citizen, then you have to be feeling pretty good.
Right. You have to be feeling very good that you were able to escape that, because you're again, when you turn the ball over on your side of the 50, now let's go inside your own 35. The odds are you're probably giving up a field goal attempt
at the very least.
The bare minimum. At the bare minimum, a field goal attempt. And the fact is, you got a pick in the end zone, which basically is a 7-point swing.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
You had a 3-point swing, 7-point swing, and now you look up. You're like, okay, we're still up 7-0, no harm done. And as a coach, you can look at that and say, we're just going to keep playing our football game now.
Cancels out.
Wipe that away. That didn't happen. It cancels out.
And all we do is milk time off the clock.
0-0, right? And that's what you're doing here at this point, even late in the second quarter. You're trying to milk clock. You're trying to limit the number in a game like this. And I say this about the Super Bowl. I say it about playoff games and college football now, I guess. You need to be able to handle how many possessions you're going to have. You go into the game thinking, okay, we're probably going to have the ball 12 times. That depending.
You plan for a certain number of possessions.
Do we want to try to pin that down to 10 for the other team, or what are you trying to do? Because you're trying to play ball control in any unless you're just airing it out all over the place. But I think every team in college football will benefit from doing that right now. I think both teams tomorrow night, Williams-Brice would benefit from doing that. And I think that's what Batesburg, Leesville, and Saluda are going to try to do tonight. In a game of this magnitude, limit the number of possessions, which means you limit the number of opportunities for mistakes.
That's math, baby. That's math. Them's the
That's
numbers.
sports math.
We'll give you some more sports math in the form of scores, more scores that are trickling out throughout the state. On the other side, we're in the second quarter of a lot of these games. Justin and I will also get into what he thinks about the A&M game tomorrow night, a very big game over at Williams-Brice. We'll talk a lot of high school football, a little bit of college football, and a whole lot more coming up as you're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the game. Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show continues right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Justin Hall. Ed Bird working the board, working the phones, making sure that we follow the rules of the Federal Communications Commission. The FCC, yeah, you know me. We don't violate those rules because Ed Bird keeps us from violating those.
Correct.
Absolutely. A lot of scores to get to. I've got on one of the monitors right now the I saw BC and I almost said Boston College. I caught myself. The Brooklyn Casey Bearcats and Airport Eagles, one of the oldest rivalries in the state of South Carolina. And it has gone from bad to worse for Airport. It's not looking good.
Correct. It's very bad. So yesterday was Halloween, and it is, if you could have a more dire situation than being chased by a chainsaw
in the state of Texas, specifically.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe. This is it in high school football terms. You're down 28-0. We haven't even gotten to the halftime yet. I mean, we're in
Ugh.
danger of running clock territory in a rivalry game.
Yeah, we don't want that. But
It's
you
not
know,
okay.
If you would you like a silver lining? You like silver linings.
I love
know.
Silver Linings.
Yes.
I love Silver Linings playbooks.
Great film too. Fantastic.
There you go.
film.
Look at that.
Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence. Great film, especially
Great
if you love
movie,
the
yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles. Check it out.
Yeah.
But Airport just picks up a first down. They're in Brooklyn Casey territory. It's 28-0. You kick a field goal
Okay.
right here. It's 28-3, which means you have them right where you want them, because if history has told us anything, you're an Atlanta Falcons
thank
fan,
you.
Justin Hall.
Thank you.
28-3 is not as
Yeah.
safe as it might look. All you need is Tom Brady. All you need is the Atlanta
Appreciate- yeah.
Falcons on the other side of the field, and we might be set up for a little bit of magic.
All you need is to literally not run the ball in the second half one time.
Is Lady Gaga performing at
Kyle-
halftime of this game?
Kyle Shanahan, man, just run the ball one time,
A little bit of clock.
just once.
Maybe
just
Coach
once.
Rusty Sharpia decides, you know what, this is a good half to try to practice airing it out downfield. And
Yeah.
stranger things have happened. I can't attest. I can't attest.
Sure. I have seen my fair share of wild comebacks.
Yes.
Things that I didn't expect to happen. That was one of them.
We
Thank
see
you for
stuff.
bringing it up on a Friday night when things are going fine.
That's all I got
Um,
on the Atlanta Falcons this year. They beat the Saints in Atlanta. This is all I got. That's all I can hold on to. That's it.
The Falcons are 4-0 in the division right now. That's a
good.
good good place to be in November,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's-
4-0 in the division.
They're a really good football team. I can't believe
well,
I'm
thank
saying
you.
that in the year of our Lord 2024. It pains me to say it, and that was harder for me to say than it was what I had to eat at 4:45 earlier today on air. This is actually a little more disgusting to me than that was.
This was coming up.
Ugh.
Gray Collegiate, by the way, is up 21. Speaking of, Gray Collegiate is up 21-0 on Gilbert in the second quarter.
Oh man,
They're without their head coach, by the way.
no head coach.
They don't have their head
problem.
coach. No,
Goodness
absolutely
gracious.
not. Dutch Fork's up 14-0 on River Bluff. Ethan
Oh.
Offing has 2 touchdown tosses
That might be all
in
they
the
need.
first half.
They could probably choke
That's
that game
insane.
out with a defense like that. I think 14. There's not a lot of teams in the state where you say 14 could be a target score because your defense can just sit on a lead. Dutch Fork is one of those teams. Those are some scores from around the Midlands right now. And our friend Roger's on the line for the first time tonight. Roger, we know your boys at Hunter Counter Tyler are doing well. What else you got for us, sir?
Yeah, I got 3-game score. Bamber Earhart 14, Emma Ola 2 in the second quarter. Prep 14. Thomas something nothing in the second quarter. Uncle Tyler Nieces 22, Richmond 8 in the second quarter.
Okay, good stuff there from Roger. We scoregami, some high school football scoregami. Bamberg Earhart up on Denmark Olar 14-2. You don't see that often. I don't think we've had a 14-2 final. Now it's probably not going to end that way, but I don't think we've even had a reported 14-2 score that at least I can conjure up at the top of my head at any point here in the season we've had. So we there's a little bit of scoregami going on.
Right. And then how about this one? I'll update Roger on that one. Hunter Counter Tyler up 30-8 over Ridge Spring Minetta, 9:21 in the second quarter. Hunter Counter Tyler is taking care of business every day.
Dare we say they're going to win a title tonight, and that is the title of winning the Hyphen Bowl.
I think we can guarantee that. And how about this one? Orangeburg Wilkinson. I didn't mention this one, but how about this? This is a good note from Thomas on Twitter. Orangeburg Wilkinson is going to Oceanside Collegiate tonight. I haven't seen a score on this in Mount Pleasant for the Region 6 3A title. The Orangeburg Wilkinson Bruins are seeking their first region title since 1995.
Since the year of my birth.
I was a year old, and they were led by a quarterback that year.
That's a high school football school.
They were led by a quarterback that year named Woodrow Dantzler, who played at Clemson in the early 2000s. So Woody Dantzler was the quarterback of the Orangeburg Wilkinson Bruins the last time they won a region title. And Woodrow Dantzler, he says, lives rent-free in my head. Exactly. Well, both of them live rent-free in my head. But Woodrow Dantzler, Woodrow Dantzler lives rent-free in my head because the Gamecocks just could not beat that team when he was the quarterback at Clemson. Just could not do it. Now, it might have been 2001 when they beat him here in Columbia by it's like a score of 15-9 or something.
Another score
Lou Holtz era stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Just we're going to run the ball. That's the best they could do. So again, I like the notes. I like the history notes there. We're talking about things that haven't been done since the mid-90s. Things that have been done since the mid-90s and have been done 3 times tonight already is an A.J. Brand touchdown. This time it's in the air, and it's to Donovan Murph. I said A.J. Brand touchdown, and my daughter smiled. It's 20-0. Irmo over Chapin. Yeah,
Hokies, she said.
Either that or go Yellow Jackets, depending. If she's a Hokies fan, me nor the wife found out about that one. That
it
would
wouldn't
be
be
a
intended
rarity.
because you are a South Carolina Gamecock fan. She is a Clemson Tiger. You already live in a house divided. Now you're gonna have to get one of those 3-way license plates that that might split three logos on it.
If the girl ends up going to Virginia Tech, then hokey high because they'll be getting my money. So,
so then you will
at
be
that
investing
point,
in the university itself. Yes,
but that's a Beamer connection, so it's kind of
It is.
loose. It's kind of loose, wouldn't you agree? I'm okay with it.
Unless you're
but anyway,
a fan of a school in the ACC, I've just never found Virginia Tech to be hateable by any means.
At any stretch,
At
right?
any stretch.
They're like
good, bad.
They're the lovable
regardless.
losers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even when they were good, everyone was like, "All right, I can get behind Beamer.
Yeah,
I can get behind Virginia Tech." And even in the early ACC years.
Guys.
Oh yeah. By the way, that connection though was a touchdown pass to Donovan Murph.
Undecided.
That's a name you're going to want to remember.
That's a name you're going to want to keep tabs on because he's reclassified to the class of 2025. I think he's the best wide receiver in the state of South Carolina. He's one of the best high school receivers I think I've seen in a long, long time.
Jordan Gidron would like a word.
Jordan Gidron would like a word. Jordan Gidron's pretty good. But
yeah, they're both really good.
You can't go wrong with either. And if you're South Carolina, you can't go wrong with maybe getting both.
Right.
I know Clemson's making a pretty big push for Donovan Murph too for his services. So it could honestly come down between two of them. And why not add a little bit of extra pizzazz to the Palmetto Bowl rivalry?
Oh, I love it. You know what? Can we workshop throughout our breaks tonight a different name for that rivalry game? Anyway, North Augusta and Midland Valley tied at 7 in the first quarter. That's a big deal.
That's
North Augusta. North Augusta, one loss. They are running away with the region, supposedly.
A very tough region.
A very tough region. Top heavy region. So you're Midland Valley, though. I mean, that game could separate.
Not a team that we would figure to
quarters.
be in the top part. You mentioned top heavy region. That's not
right.
One that when you talk about the reasons why this region's so good this year, Midland Valley is probably not one of the few schools you think of as being competitive in that top end. They've had some big wins this year, and they've had some impressive wins, but shouldn't be beating North Augusta.
No, should not be, and should not be tied with North Augusta in the first quarter. Camden leads AC Flora 22-14. Again, these are some that are trickling in. Once we get past about the 8:30 mark, if you're new to the program, and if you are, welcome. If you're new to the program, it takes about the 8:30 mark before we get a consistent look on our scoreboard that we use. So for the first hour or so of game action, you're really relying on the Twitters to make this thing roll score wise. So once we get to halftime and everyone has a chance, their statisticians upstairs in the press box can go get their French fries and their Coke, come back and update. And that's not hating. I think that's a great way to live.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it because those canteen fries are usually pretty good. All the seed oils in the world. But once we get those halftime scores in, we'll know more about where we are statewide. I'll put it that way. Because I don't have an update from Kellytown here. Oh, I do have an update from Kellytown. Hartsville leads South Florence 28-21 at the half. Points
galore and storylines galore. So we got that halftime score, a couple others trickling in. Brooklyn Casey and Airport just went to halftime, and we have a score that occurred right before the half. We'll tell you who did that. And we'll also hear from Airport head coach Shane Fiddler. He got to sit down with Justin here just yesterday. So we'll talk to Coach Fiddler about, going into this Brooklyn Casey game. What's the program looking like? It's been a challenging year for Airport, but there's been a lot of progress made as well, and a lot of intrigue with them moving forward, playing beyond just what's happening in the year of our Lord 2024. We'll give you scores and a whole lot more along with the discussion with Coach Fiddler as the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show returns here on the game. And before we do that, I'll pose a question. We like asking questions on the show as much as we like getting answers. But why reboot the internet when you can rebuild it, because the internet, as we know, it's been built for the last 50 years. And look, let's face it, landlines ruled, cable TV was the future. Rotary phones were more of a thing back then too. I can't even work a rotary phone. I'm a millennial. What am I talking about? It's time for the internet as we don't know it, because that's what Lumos is here for, to be able to propel us into the future where small cities have internet as fast as big cities, uploads are as fast as downloads. Your digital life is never interrupted. Time for 100% fiber optic internet. It's built from the ground up. It's an internet that's built for small businesses that want to make a big impact, as well as internet built for families with smartphones, video games, voice assistants, tablets, nanny cams, streaming high school football, all the fun stuff you can do with the internet. You can do it better with Lumos, because this is an internet built for the most hopeful of all things, the future. See your future at lumosfiber.com/future.
Welcome back into the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard Show here on The Game. Justin Hall with Coach Shane Fiddler of our Airport Eagles. We call him on this program. Coach, glad to have you in person. We talked on the phone. It's our first time meeting face-to-face, so glad to do it. Let's start here. Tonight's matchup against Brooklyn Casey is not one that's lost on me for its importance. I have lived this rivalry since I was in the womb. Both of my parents went to Airport. All my grandparents went to Airport. I have maybe 2 relatives who went to BC. Everybody else is Airport. And this game is serious around these parts, as they say. But to that end, both teams are kind of struggling a little bit this season in terms of the win-loss record. And for you guys specifically, because you're in here talking to me, kind of give us a look at your season to date and kind of what's been sort of the bugaboos that you guys have had, some high points, some low points. Obviously, you're starting a freshman quarterback, and he's not the only freshman that's taken the field for you.
No, we got a lot of young kids playing. You know, we've had injury struggles all year. It's like every time we get somebody back, we lose another. We have 7 kids out with season enders, 16 total on the injury list right now. If we were the NFL, it'd be a long list that we'd be giving you at the press conference. But
right.
You know, we played 14 freshmen and sophomore Saturday against Gilbert, and every rep they get better. We constantly seen it on film. We got some older guys are doing a great job of trying to coach those young guys up, the ones that are still healthy and still out there playing, trying to get them coached up and get them right so we can keep building and building our success.
Yeah,
we've had that youth showed up in a couple games early in the season where we had to lead at halftime and weren't able to close the other team out. And then finally we got to the Aiken game and we're able to complete it and actually, keep our foot on the gas throughout the second half and get that win. And then our entire team got food poisoning from the pregame meal. And it was insane. And so we missed about a week of practice. And then ironically, the hurricane hit at the same time. And then we missed 2 more weeks. And then we finally got back to playing games. And we just have not been able to capitalize on the momentum that we created before the hurricane. And we haven't been able to pick that back up. But Saturday, we saw some great glimpses. And our older guys that are really taking that leadership role with them and trying to encourage them and get them to grow up as fast as possible. And lead into this game. This game's a big game for a lot of people, like you said, in our community. A lot of people know it across the state as one of the bigger rivalries, more traditional games. I've had people, I go to Bogart's for lunch, and I've had a lady tell me, I don't care if you win any other game, just win that one.
Oh, that's
I'm like,
great.
well, this year it's kind of weird with how the season's going. But, it's a region game now. When I first got here, it wasn't a region game. It's a region game now, so it has extra importance. Playoffs, seeding, all that stuff on the line. Obviously it's week 10, but we still have another game after this because of the high school league adding the extra week. Thankful for them doing that, so our kids have the opportunity to get a full season in. But they've had a difficult season. We've had a difficult season. We've both beat Aiken. They've beat South Aiken. We haven't played at South Aiken. They played, Gilbert down to the wire. We kind of fell off there late against Gilbert, even though we had them on the ropes. But looking forward to playing these guys. They got a great quarterback. They got a great coach. They got had a lot of success recently. They played for a lower state championship last year. So we know that they're going to be well prepared and they're going to be ready to go. And, who isn't when you can win a game like this?
Right. You going into a rivalry game, you mentioned it's the age-old thing of as long as you beat fill in the blank, either side, you're fine. And it's such an interesting rivalry. We just had Coach Oz on here earlier talking about Gilbert and BC kind of becoming a rivalry, and it's probably a big rivalry. And I pointedly asked him, do you think it's on that level of Airport BC? He said, yes, just in a different way. Yeah. Gilbert and BC have been playing for region titles for the last 4 or 5 years. It's just different, though, when it's crosstown. These kids probably went to middle school together and have grown up together. They
played
probably
youth football together.
Go to church together. That might be related. Yeah. So in a rivalry game like this, I mean, at this point, with both teams having 7 losses, you're still in playoff position, but it really is a throw the record out for tonight and let's just go play ball.
Yeah, it's going to come down to who wins in the trenches. Simple as that. Most, if not all, football games come down to that. But who's going to play better in the trenches? Who's going to be better fundamentally at blocking, tackling, securing the football? Who's going to do those little things really well? Things that we emphasize every day in practice. Things that we emphasize every single day with our kids and everything we do. We always constantly emphasize little things, little things, little things, little things, little things. Blocking, tackling, ball security, how you walk on or run on the field, not walk on the field. How you do all these little things. Whoever handles those things the best is going to have the best chance to win on Friday. And they've been playing better as of late. They've kind of altered what they're doing offensively. We've seen the transition through film this week, watching their film from the season. But it starts with their quarterback getting healthy and him being a very dynamic playmaker for them.
Looking at your journey here, this is your second year at Airport, coming from Ashley Ridge, and kind of give us an idea, because in the past we've only had you on the phone for maybe 5 minutes. Yeah. But kind of give us an idea of what that transition's been like moving up here to the Midlands. You're the second coach removed from the guy who was there for a really long time. Yeah. So what's that been like for you in terms of the student body, in terms of the community, and everything else in between?
Community's awesome. They love Airport football. They love Airport High School. And every time I go somewhere, I'm wearing this shirt. I'll just give you an example. My son likes a Zesto's ice cream cone.
Amen.
So
chocolate dipped?
Yeah, he does. Yep. He gets. Yep. We both get the same thing. He goes, "I want you to get Daddy. I get chocolate dip. He gets the kids dip."
There you go.
And we go in there, and if I'm lucky enough to pick him up because we didn't have something after school, I pick him up from preschool, and he goes, "Daddy, can we go to Zesto?" Absolutely. We go there, and we sit down, and about 5 people come up and talk to me.
That's great.
Hey, how's it going? Root for you Friday. That just kind of shows you what this community is like. And, I go into a place, hey, emergency, I need to get some T-shirts for some teachers to wear on Friday. It's Wednesday. They're done on Thursday. They have other stuff going on, but they want Airport to be good. Our Lexington 2 school district has done such a great job investing in our athletic facilities. I would put our football stadium up against 95 to 98% of this state and say we're clearly have an elite facility. We got a new jumbotron, like we probably have the best jumbotron in the state currently. We got the lights that flicker like you get at Williams-Brice when you score touchdowns, have the different colors. Just so much investment into our arena sports and just in our base. We got the new LED lights at our baseball facility. We're getting them at softball. Just so much investment from Lex 2. Lex 2 is so great as well because not only do they care about the students that want to go to college, you can get a free associate's degree being a student at Airport or Brooklyn Casey High School. And not a lot of people know that. They think because the school says collegiate that's the only place you can go get a college degree. But you can do that at a Lex 2 school as well. And you can also, if your student's not going to be a college student, we have a world-class innovation center where a student can get a certificate to be a barber or a certificate to be a welder or auto tech or learn how to be an electrician or a culinary chef or, an athletic trainer, anything. It's a really great place to work. It's a really great place to live. My wife loves living there. We got a 4-year-old, Win, and my wife's the cheer coach at Airport, and I'm the football coach and the AD, and we named our son Win, if that shows you how competitive we are.
Do you guys have a white picket fence out in front of your house?
We don't. We don't have a fence yet, but we have a rule in our house. If you lose, you sleep on the floor. So I've had a bunch of floor sleeps this year. I was in the Low Country when they would do our highlights on Friday night. Say, Coach Filler gets sleep in the bed tonight.
There you go.
After we win, because we won a lot.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, we won a lot there. This last couple of years I was there.
Yeah.
But I'd get off the floor this Friday. Be great bed sleep beating BC.
Yeah, I might need to go to the chiropractor after this season.
Yeah. But Columbia's a great place to live when you have a small child.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff to do. You can take them to a Fireflies game or take them to adventure or take them to the zoo or some jump park. There's so much things to do. When you live in Somerville, Charleston area, it's more touristy. It's not as much to do. Before that, I was a head coach at Waccamaw, Wally's Island. Yeah, it's great living at the beach, but how many times you can go to the beach with a toddler?
Not well for like a 30-minute stretch.
Right, exactly. So
I took a 4-month-old to the beach this summer. I'm with you.
Right, so you get it. Exactly. So I'm just living it's such a great place to live. I went to USC as a student, lived here for a couple years after that, working in local high schools, et cetera, and didn't realize how great it would be when you had a kid because I didn't have a kid at that time, so I didn't understand. So Columbia's a great place to live. Lex 2 is a great place to work. Airport's a great place to be a part of, and I'm appreciative for everything they do for our program and our school.
Not only are you the head coach at Airport, but you're going to be the offensive coordinator for the South.
Yes.
In the North-South game.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about what that's like when you're coaching guys who aren't your guys.
Yeah, it's when they announce your name, first off, you're very flattered and humbled because it's such a great honor, and a lot of people think it's merit-based. It's sort of merit-based, but it's more like it's your turn.
Sure.
They try to reward people by seniority, and I'm going to year 8 as a head coach, year 16 coaching. As a 37-year-old, people are like, "You're so young. How are you coaching that game?" I'm not even the youngest guy on our staff. The offensive line coach, Brandon Eisman's actually a year younger. But when you're going through the process, it's a lot more than people understand. You don't just get to choose. The Shrine Bowl chooses the best 44 players or whatever their number is. We don't just get to choose the next best 44. We've got to abide by certain rules, like you got to have one player per region. That way, your smaller schools are represented as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have more than 2 kids per school. I'll give you an example. There's a school out there we chose 2 kids from. There was a 3rd and potentially a 4th player from that school that we felt should have made the team as well, but you can only have 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to start mixing and matching. And then every coach, one of the traditions is you get to bring a player with you, be on the team as well. A lot of times that player makes it by merit anyway. So that's not really a big concern. But,
right.
The process starts in the spring. You start meeting and organizing, hey, who's coaching what position? You start getting organized with the North staff. Okay, hey, y'all are, okay, we get it. There's combines. We all got to go to these, I think it's Carolina coaches combines where they bring kids in for coaches, high school coaches nominate kids to be a part of these combines. They get to go and run 40s and play 7-on-7, all these things in front of North-South coaches, in front of the Shrine Bowl coaches, in front of JP Gunner, who runs Catapult Services, which services the colleges for recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great things that go into that. So you do that, and then you start getting organized with the Shrine Bowl coaches. Hey, you guys going to we're looking at these guys, you're looking at these guys. And you go into the summer, and you start getting organized with film, and they have like a invite-only combine. And then as the fall goes, you got to meet. North-South, I think, met once a week. We met every other week. We did Zoom mainly. We met a couple times in person. And you start piecing the team together. You have to make some really hard decisions, and you hope you made the right ones because you want to honor the kids correctly. That's the biggest thing is you're honoring kids and schools, but you're always going to miss people. But what's going to be fun about it is getting to coach the best talent.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a week at the beach, and we're
Never
really
hurts.
excited about it.
And in December too.
Yeah.
Never hurts to be at the beach in December. As we wrap up our conversation here with Coach Fiddler on the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard Show, looking ahead again to tonight's game against Brooklyn Casey, I don't care. I'm an Airport grad and I'm an Airport alum, and I want Airport to win every game they play, especially one game a year. So looking ahead to tonight, you mentioned this game's gonna have to be won in the trenches. It's on the road. It's at BC.
Yeah.
Managing expectations for your guys. How do you keep the fire there, but also make sure they keep it kind of contained a little bit, because you definitely don't want to start getting into the extracurricular stuff and
Focus on
lose
assignment.
some focus.
Yep, just focus on our assignment, focus on what we do in our program. If someone from another team or another coach, they try to start something, we walk away. We've practiced that situation, and I give one of our players, Josh Roberts. We had a kid from a team we were playing, was kind of doing some extracurricular on one of our kids. He went and got our kid out, and that's what we do. We touch our kids only. We don't touch kids from other teams. We don't touch referees. We don't touch coaches from other teams, et cetera. We just take care of our kids. And Josh did a great job. He got our kid out, prevented anything, and the other team got a 15-yard penalty and added to our kick return. So that's the stuff that we do is focus on yourself, focus on our team, focus on what we do, focus on your assignment, your technique, your fundamentals. And that's what it takes to be successful. Just focus on, be the best version of yourself. Talk about all the time. How can we be the best version of ourselves? And tonight, when we play those guys, you're gonna have to be the best version of yourself to win, because like you said, you throw the records out the window. You got two teams that know each other very well, and they're going at it. And they got great coaches, they got great quarterback, they got great players, and we're looking forward to the challenge in the game.
We'll watch Airport and Brooklyn Casey both try to be the best versions of themselves, and hopefully the team in blue is a better version of themselves than that team in whatever color they wear now: red, maroon, black, silver, white. They wear a lot of different colors, which is fine. I'm cool with it. I think it's great. I like the classic blue and gray, blue and silver, if you will.
Blue and silver.
Coach Shane Fiddler joining us here on the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard Show. Coach, appreciate it.
Thanks
you
for having us. Go Eagles.
That's Coach Fiddler. We'll be back. More of the Love Chevy High School Scoreboard Show coming up on the game.
Oh boy, good conversation there. Justin Hall with Shane Fiddler. We'll do a full scoreboard rundown because we are now starting the second half of a lot of these games. But first, we'll get a more detailed breakdown as to what's going down between White Knoll and Lexington as our game of the week. Cale Wilson joins us right now. Cale, it was an early lead for White Knoll, a team that prides themselves on defense and being able to hold leads like they had in the first quarter. What was our development here in the second frame of this game?
Yeah, guys. So it is halftime now here in Lexington. In the second quarter, I know I told you that it started off with a half-yard touchdown run by Tyon Fanning to make it 14-0 White Knoll. Then the following drive, Lexington did drive down the field, and it was capped off by a 10-yard Brennan Carter touchdown run to put Lexington on the board. After that, White Knoll had a quarterback touchdown run of their own as Landon Sharp came up with a 69-yard touchdown run.
Nice.
And on the drive after that, bad news for Lexington as Brennan Carter went down a couple plays in after running for about 15 yards for a first down. He got up, was able to walk off the field under his own power, came back in after 2 plays, and then his first play back in, he went down again. This time he had to get carted off the field. I don't think he's going to be returning to the game, so I'm wishing him a speedy recovery. Then after that, White Knoll threw a 20-yard touchdown pass from Landon Sharp to Devin Geronimo. So now it is 28-7 at halftime. White Knoll firmly in control of this region's top 25 matchup.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, tough sledding for Lexington. That might be too big of a deficit to be able to climb out of. Cale, appreciate you calling in as always, and looking forward to seeing more of this game on Savage College Football on Instagram.
Thank you guys so much.
Good stuff. Yeah. So that's one score.
Yeah.
White Knoll in firm control of that. And for more scores from around the state, Justin Hall, take it away, good sir.
Oh, I do what I can. Let's see what we got for you. Greenwood leads Hillcrest at the half, 24-0. Cane Bay over Goose Creek, 14-7 at the half. We do have a final score. Hammond, reports of their demise were greatly exaggerated. They win 52-21 over the Cardinal Newman Cardinals tonight. I do have an update from Ben Lippen and, let me make sure I get this one right, and Augusta Christian. Augusta Christian leading that one 7-6 at the half. Joe Pollock tells me on Twitter that the winner of this game will host the other team next week in round 1 of the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
playoff implications, baby.
Get a rematch next week between those two teams. Always love that. Palmetto leads Christ Church Episcopal 3-0 at the half. Hartsville, Kellytown doing its thing. They're up 34-21 in the third quarter. Camden leads AC Flora 22-14 at the break. Somerville up on Fort D 35-21. That one closing in on the halftime break. The Northwood Chargers playing better than the San Diego Chargers did back in the day from time to time. They lead the Heathwood Hall Episcopal Highlanders. Well, I wasn't a big Chargers guy. 20-7 Northwood over Heathwood Hall. Northside Christian leads Camden Military 28-7. Wilson Hall leads 17-7 over First Baptist. The Trinity Collegiate Titans out of Darlington lead the Florence Christian Eagles 6-0 in the first quarter. That one's further along. The Vikings of Latta are up on the Johnsonville Flashes 28-6, but the Sausages are undefeated. Hunter Kiner Tyler leads Ridge Spring Minetta 42-8. See, Mr. Campbell did these earlier in the year, and he always mentioned that, so I figured I'd throw that one in there
I love their
as an homage.
Love the
as an
brats.
homage. The Blackville Hilda Fighting Hawks lead the Williston Elko Blue Devils 20-6 at the break. The Louisville Lions lead the Fighting Tommy Suggses of Lamar 17-7 at the break. The Fighting Rick Henrys of McBee are up on Great Falls 21-0. Lee Central leads C.A. Johnson 32-0 in the third quarter. Whitmire over Calhoun Falls Charter, all over Calhoun Falls Charter 52-14. Woodruff leads Union County 28-0. Oceanside Collegiate leads OW 34-0 at the half. So I think Oceanside Collegiate's winning that region tonight, folks. The Bulldogs of Silver Bluff lead the Fox Creek Predators 27-7. The Dillon Wildcats lead the Georgetown Bulldogs 43-0. Battery Creek trails Hanahan 14-0. By the way, Hanahan, the hometown of a country music superstar? Star?
Ooh,
I don't know
I love
how you
these
put it.
debates. Who
Josh Turner. Josh
Star.
Turner, he's had
Star.
staying power. He's had
Star.
staying power.
He's got a hit. He's got a mega hit. I would call that.
So he's got a mega hit in the Long Black Train, no question about it.
Yes.
But the Everything Is Fine album is fantastic. That's one of his first ones. Really
It's his
good
peak.
album. Loris leads Ainer 21-0. I love a good conversation like that. Woodland leads Timberland 9-7. Whale Branch over Barnwell 7-6. The Braves of Sherall lead the Chesterfield Golden Rams 24-0. Pageland Central over North Central 30-7. BHP Belton Honeypath leads the Razorbacks of Walhalla 35-0. Strom Thurmond 96-0 in the third quarter. And Batesburg Leesville leads Saluda 14-0 at the half. You want stats? You want weirdness? I'll give it to you. This from Chris Deering. We take a deep dive into this score before we get to the end of the hour. And I will tell you that Chris Deering would like to tell us, if I can find it. Oh, and I can't. Saluda has like 76 yards total offense, and 60 of it came on one play.
Oh.
That tells you what Batesburg Leesville's defense is doing right now.
Locked in.
Chesney.
The kids would say they are locked in.
Chesney trails Landrum, the metropolitan capital of Landrum, out in Campobello, 13-9. No score between Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach at the half. How about that? Woodmont leads easily 14-7. Bluffton over May River 14-7. That might be a bit of an upset there. Bishop England. The battling Bishops of Bishop England 28, Collin County nothing, Hilton Head 14-0 over Beaufort, Wilson and Darlington tied at 8, Crestwood over Lakewood 14-0, Gilbert is trailing Gray 21-0, and Brooklyn Casey leads Airport at the half 28-7. How about this one? 14-14 between Aiken and South Aiken in a rivalry game.
Oh, big rivalry game with a potential big finish. Oh, we have so many more scores, breakdowns. We'll talk about the South Carolina A&M game tomorrow as well. So much more to get into as we are halfway through the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the game. And before we get out of the halftime locker room, got to tell you about my friends over at Lumos, because look, while we're resetting, one thing you don't want to have to constantly reset is your router, right? The traditional way of doing internet, having to do things the old way. But you know what? We're always looking towards the future, and Lumos is the internet that is built for the future. It's built as the internet as we don't know it. Because, my friends, it's time for 100% fiber optic internet that is built from the ground up. It's internet built for communities where we live, work, thrive, and grow. Built for small businesses that want to make a big impact. It's built for families that have smartphones, video games, voice assistants, tablets, nanny cams. I hate when I'm playing video games and my internet craps out on me because I don't have the internet built for the future. And that's a mistake on my part, because Lumos is the internet built for the future. Whatever the future holds, they make it faster. See your future at lumosfiber.com/future. Two hours down, 2 hours to go. That means we are officially out of the halftime break. This is the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Justin Hall. Ed Bird behind the glass, not just kicking folks out of the undefeated club, but running the board, answering all of our busy phones that we get throughout the night, and keeping you abreast as to what is going on in the Midlands. We have an update. My man Craig Godwin on our YouTube stream, friend of all programs here at 107.5 The Game, He says North Augusta up 28-14 on Midland Valley, about 2 minutes left in the first half. So they're still in the first half, which, I mean, when you have 42 points worth of scoring, sometimes the half can move a little slower, but a lot going on right now in the Midlands. Justin, you look at all the scores right now. The biggest theme you have noticed so far is
it's the good teams are showing up late, right? And that's not to say that Saluta's not good. I think so. Some of these teams are playing their last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have a game next week. Kind of depends. But I will say that the best teams play well down the stretch.
Yeah.
They've got everything going for them. And even if they're working through injury, they're working through it well. The better teams are playing well tonight. I mean, Gaffney, what we're getting from Gaffney tonight, they're up 30-0. Dutch Fork's up 28-0 at the break, right? Ridgeview's up 14-0 at the break over Blythewood. Hammond did Hammond things after struggling in the first quarter. So the good teams are playing well. I think that's my theme right now. Again, we're at the halfway point. By the way, our half times are shorter than the NFL's.
Yeah, ours are a breeze compared to those. There is no halftime performance. We are the halftime performers.
Then that's fair.
And
that's fair. And that, depending on how that goes, you could either have a Bruce Springsteen halftime situation or what's his good? I don't know. I don't know if classify his as good. Sorry, Ford. But our halftime shows are decent. The good teams are playing well. And we could see these games tighten up down the stretch. I think that Batesburg-Leesville Saluda game could tighten up down the stretch if they're not careful. But this Irmo game, I mean, Irmo's better than Chapin. I don't think there's any question about that. But to do what they're doing to Chapin right now,
and defensively, especially, I think that's the big takeaway here is what they're doing defensively.
It's like Irmo and Dutch Fork had the perfect opportunity as a look ahead game, right? This is a
trap, classic trap.
Yeah,
game.
ain't happening. I mean, you could perhaps say that's what Alabama did with South Carolina, looking ahead to Tennessee, and they escaped it. Those are situations that happen. These are young men. These are kids.
14 to 18 years old, man. We say it on this show all the time. The behaviors of 14 to 18-year-old boys can be the most unpredictable variable of the sport.
Yeah. A majority of these individuals will not vote on Tuesday because they can't.
They're not
legally.
Old enough.
They're not old enough to vote early, vote often, as I like to say sometimes. You're not going to be able to do that because they're kids. So to gauge what your team is going to do based on the temperament of a 15-year-old who we barely trust to drive a vehicle and don't trust them to do it alone legally.
Shoot, half of them can't drive legally by themselves.
Alone.
You're right.
And the sun's setting earlier now, so it's even less, right? So
glory days.
Yeah, right. You know, when you were stuck at home and could not go anywhere.
I had to rely on my mom or my stepdad to take me places. Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah, haven't we all? And then that ends for some sooner than others. By the way, I do have an update here. Mark hits me on Twitter and lets me know that there's a long delay in this game against Irmo. Cooper Kennedy, and I'm quoting him here, for Chapin, made a great catch over the middle, huge hit, and waiting on the ambulance.
Oh, no. Yeah,
so
that's
he said seemed to have movement because he tossed the ball up in the air after the catch and the hit.
Okay.
So
positive. That's a positive.
That's a positive. Still waiting for more of an update there. Not sure what we have outside of that. Irmo's up big. We're going to be in a bit of a delay there until they get that situation cleared up. Obviously, prayers to that young man and to his family who are probably in the stands, and that's a tough moment.
Scary. That's scary.
Hard pivot. Brooklyn Casey leads 35-7.
They have the ball
right out of the halftime break.
Yeah, that's an update. I know a fella who is always on point with updates. That's our friend Roger. Roger joins us right now. Roger, I know your beloved Heinrich Tyler is all up in the business of Virtual Springs Minetta, but I'm sure you have the score for that. What else you got for us?
Yeah, I got 4-game score. Oceanside Collegiate 34, OW nothing in the third.
Oh, Willie, sorry.
Yeah, Bamberg 20, Demaola 4, halftime.
You say 4?
Umbre Prep 14, Thomas Sutton nothing. Calhoun County 23, Wagner Senate nothing, halftime.
Ooh. Okay, so let me run through these really quickly.
Did
Thank
I
you,
hear
Roger.
20-4. Yeah, thank you, Roger. Did I hear
You did.
20-4?
You did. You
Holy
did.
score! It got
Ocean-
me, Batman. We're so back.
Oceanside Collegiate 34-0 over OW. Bamberg Earhart 20-4 over Denmark Oler. Orangeburg Prep leads Thomas Sumter 14-0. That's one war that T. Sumter may not win. And Calhoun County, there's another history reference for you. And Calhoun County,
That's good. That's very good.
Calhoun County leads Wagner Sally 23-0 in that ball game. And you know what I'm also seeing, Elijah? A lot of shutouts tonight.
Yeah, a lot of blowouts, a lot of shutouts. Look, at the beginning of the year, you get a lot of blowouts because there are maybe some out of region mismatches. So you get a lot of running clocks, a lot of blowout scores, some games that went early because of said running clock. But that's usually in August, September. It's November. We're playing regular season football in November, and we have some, I would say, emphatic results right now.
That would be emphatic would be the word I would use.
Yeah, good way of putting it.
Yeah. Batesburg-Leesville recovers an onside kick on the kickoff. I'm not sure if they kicked it or not, but it immediately leads to a 33-yard touchdown pass. And it's 21-0 Batesburg-Leesville.
Oh, man, that's a touchdown pass from Tanner Watkins. And look, we gave Amadre Wooden a lot of love in the first hour of the show when we first started talking about this game. But I think one player that has made the steps and the improvements to help Batesburg-Leesville become a more well-rounded team, because you can't just focus on Amadre Wooden in that backfield. Tanner Watkins at quarterback is having a spectacular year. And one thing I remember noticing when watching one of their practices last year, when preparing for the season, back when I was writing for the Chronicle, I would go to every practice, wrote our season preview, and I remember watching him throw the ball. I was like, those are really pretty ball. There are some traits here. There are some mechanics that might have to be fixed, or maybe some experience, maybe get a little muscle on him. But there was a lot to like about Tanner watching him throw the football. And this year, it's starting to come to fruition a little bit. And I think that's one of the reasons why you've seen them take this jump. Amadre Wooden's was always going to be a focal point of this offense. But I think the quarterback play improvement has helped kind of separate them. And he's already got a pair of touchdown passes tonight.
And what you're seeing is this a state championship preview?
It could be. I mean, these are the final two undefeated teams left in the 2A classification.
Yeah.
That's not a stretch by any means.
I think it's a state championship preview. And what you're seeing here is defense is gonna carry the day. By the way, going into the half, I want to mention this. Let's see. I'm going to Chris Deering's page because that's the only. Unofficially, he said, I have Saluda with 63 yards at the half. 47 of it came on one play.
Good Lord. Defense. I mean.
Exactly.
Good Lord. I mean, I'm just getting waxing poetic about the Batesburg-Leesville running game with Amadre Wooden and the passing game with Tanner Watkins' improvement. I probably should mention a little bit. I'd be remiss if I didn't. That the defense is also putting the absolute clamps on Saluda on the road, mind you. I would say that's torture chamber status.
I would agree. You're at that point. Burns. Ooh. Hello, Burns. They're up 21-15.
Uh-oh.
In the
The
third
Road
quarter.
Warriors.
The Road Warriors of Burns.
Hard to put a finger on Burns this year because there have been some games where they've been outperformed expectation against really good teams. And again, on the road. But there have also been some games where they lay some unexpected eggs where maybe it's like, okay, you think you're making that growth, and then maybe, okay, they've hit the wall. Because you play every game on the road. You get to the back half of the schedule. You're still playing really tough teams. And I think last week we discussed that maybe they're hitting that wall. But then they come out tonight and they start gluing together a performance. It's a tough team to read. It's a hard read.
It is. Another team that's hard to read is Gilbert.
Certainly.
Because Gray blocked a punt. Then quarterback for Gray, Tyler Waller, finds a wide open Caleb Berry. Gray is up 42-0 in the third quarter.
Oh, running clock.
At Gilbert.
Oh, man.
Without their head coach.
Without a head coach, and now you're getting in the second half against a really good Gilbert team, and that clock's what to make like Forrest Gump and keep running.
Yeah.
That's
tough. It's just going to do things you didn't expect to read tonight is Gilbert down 42-0 in the third quarter.
No.
That did not expect that at all. What I do expect as we take a break, these games are flowing through the third quarter. So I would like to mention that we do have some decent football tomorrow. Is it decent?
We got a massive game. There may or may not be a top 10 team in the country in town sleeping in a hotel tonight that's got to play at Willie B tomorrow night. I mean, look, this is a fascinating
The line's
game.
-3.
It's a fascinating game. I mean, Texas A&M, my only concern here, Justin, is that Texas A&M does one thing really well that helps negate South Carolina's biggest strength. The one thing that will keep South Carolina in every single game they play, regardless of opponent, is that elite pass rush. But what, you know, A&M is the best running team in the SEC, one of the best in the country, one of the best run blocking units in the country. They have a mobile quarterback who has perfected the read option, and LSU had no answer for it. It is hard to rush the passer if there is no passer. My biggest concern for South Carolina is just that A&M is able to control the line of scrimmage early. They run the ball really well and never get behind in the game to have to throw the ball, make it a necessity. If Texas A&M has to throw the ball maybe more than 13, 14, 15 times, then South Carolina's got a really good chance. But if they control the run game and it's a hard tackling day for South Carolina, it's going to be really tough to find that roadmap.
Yeah, I'll agree with you to an extent. I'm trying to quickly find, because I don't have the stats pulled up necessarily quickly. South Carolina has allowed, I got to get to their defensive stats here. Opponents are averaging 2.8 yards per rush.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
It's not. Sacks have a lot to do with that too, I will say.
Yeah, okay, so
they
we
get
probably
more
need to look for
sacks than
sack
anybody
adjusted.
else, yeah, which unfortunately is so bleeping hard to find on Al Gore's World Wide Web. I mean, it's one of those things that like that's the only stat when I'm looking at like running games that I love to value, but I can't find it unless it's stat broadcast. And even stat broadcast only does individual game numbers. It irks me.
Yeah.
One of my biggest pet peeves about statistics in college football.
South Carolina has sacked a quarterback 28 times, but their opponents have sacked South Carolina's quarterbacks 32 times.
Ooh, imbalance. I don't like that.
Here's how about this one? Scoring in the first quarter. This game is at night, 7:30, ABC. South Carolina's outscoring their opponents 60-28 in the first quarter.
They need to take advantage of that. They need to have the lead at the end of the first quarter, because what happens after that? Then you force A&M to have to be a little more urgent, and then you can maybe reach that 15-plus passing attempt sweet spot that we kind of look at and say, look, make Marcel Reed or Connor Wegman, whoever's in the game at that time, have to drop back to pass, because when they do, then Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart can pin their ears back, put them in a torture chamber, and then now you play into your strengths, right? Now they got to play in your house at that point in time. This might be, and people say this all the time, so it kind of gets worn out as a cliche, that you have to get up on them early. I think this game, maybe more so than ever, just from the raw matchup perspective, makes this one the most important to get up on somebody early.
This team is so weird. I'm just seeing this breakdown for the first time in this game. This team is weird. South Carolina's outscoring opponents in every single quarter. Every single quarter.
Like cumulatively throughout the year?
They're out cumulatively throughout the year. They outscored their opponents 60-28 in the first quarter, 56-49 in the second, 31-24 in the third, and 53-30 in the fourth.
Yet they are 4-3.
They're 4-3. You know why? Because 5 points means everything.
Yep.
That's where we're at.
That's the
I
difference
think
between winning and losing.
2 games.
2 games. 5
2
points.
games, and they would be 6-1 if I do my math correctly. Listen, I think South Carolina wins this game, and I think they win it comfortably by 10.
Really? Okay. I love your confidence. I don't share it, but I like it.
Here's why. I know they're coming off a bye week. Think of the last bye week. The next game they played Ole Miss, it was terrible. Lenore Sellers has had some injuries, some bugaboos. He didn't play a lot. I mean, he got hurt in Kentucky game. First half of the LSU game, balled out, and then blah, 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 blah. We get that. He's had some natural progression now over a couple of weeks. This has to be the Rocket Sanders game. You brought him in for a reason. It has to be the Rocket Sanders game. You cannot turn the ball over. The number of times I've been in that stadium where you turn the ball over early in a big-time game, you cannot do it. Take advantage. This defense, Elijah, they're going to be in every game they play the rest of the year. This defense is going to be fine. Even tomorrow night, this defense is going to be fine. It's going to be a rock fight. I don't think Connor Wegman's that good. I'm sorry.
If you're A&M, you shouldn't start Wegman. You shouldn't play Wegman.
You shouldn't play Wegman at all.
He's not your best quarterback.
No, Marcel Reed is your best quarterback, and he will neutralize what South Carolina does well defensively.
Yep.
South Carolina's going to win this game 27-17.
Ooh. I
And
feel like
A&M's
the
A&M
consensus
might
is a lot of that score, that same score for different sides,
A&M might score that last 7 points in the fourth quarter.
Interesting.
A 10-point game. I honestly think Beamer off of a bye week against this team at home sellout crowd, teams wearing all black. It all matters. Give fans a nice little night where they gain an hour of sleep.
I like your confidence. My biggest hang up, that running offense. Can I trust this offense for South Carolina to avoid the turnover for 2 games in a row? Maybe. I'm just going to believe it when I see it.
You had a bye week
with them. You had a bye week. But
and what's the wrinkle? What's the wrinkle out of the bye week?
There's got to be something.
You'll see it in the first quarter.
Yeah, we'll see. Fun game, 7:30 ABC. If you're not going to be in the house, 7:30 if you're going to be in the house at Willie B. The house will be rocking. So according to Stevie Ray Vaughan, don't bother knocking, baby. Come on in. We'll go ahead and give you some more scores and updates, a lot more developments with some of the big games around the Midlands. You're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the game. It's the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show. Beastie Boys telling you a little story about Paul Revere. We're going to tell you a little story about the latest going on in the Midlands tonight. Now, all across the state. Actually, the Midlands are our geographical footprint, but we like to talk about the stuff going on throughout the night, and that may or may not include a normal Gaffney football game. Maybe. By normal, I mean just them taking care of business every day. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Justin Hall. Ed Bird behind the glass, making sure that I keep my music puns and music references to a minimum. Or maximum. I don't know. He seems to be digging it. But we're
Yeah.
rolling right along here, if I can say that. But we do have a final, the Swansea Newberry game, which I mean we hyped it up pretty good last week because that was a massive game, region implications, some small town implications. I love these type of matchups, but poor Swansea. Faked a field goal early in the game with a chance to maybe get into it, cut into a lead. Newberry cruises. It's a 45-0 win for Newberry over Swansea. That one officially final. Thank you to John Carlos, who's been providing me updates throughout the night, but that one has officially ended. So one of our earlier final scores.
It's one of them. Hammond was another one that came in fairly early, and the media team, Justin King just dropped a banger, and I was watching it with the volume down. So my apologies there.
He does that a lot. Honestly, I mean, this is not even,
Just
this is coming from like, an objective perspective, right? I've been covering college football and college athletics since 2017. And I watch a lot of the media team productions. I get to see the creative teams across the country and seeing a lot of the creative stuff that gets to be produced. I don't know if there's a better one than South Carolina's in terms of making even just like a third party viewer invested. They're good at it, man. They're good. They are professionals at what they do.
They sell the story. Northwestern leads Indian Land 42-0 going to the fourth quarter. Can I make a bold statement here at 9:22?
You make a bold statement anytime, Justin Hall. It's your party. If you want to.
This
I can't stop.
This Friday has not delivered.
No.
On close games. I'm just gonna say it.
For the first time, though,
honest.
all year we've talked about how these things have delivered, and I think for the first time we might have a dud.
Yeah, I think we're there.
It was bound to happen.
I mean, there are good games. Don't get me wrong, but Batesburg-Leesville's up by 4 scores on Saluda. It's 28-0.
That was our game of the week.
Dutch Fork's up by 35 on River Bluff. Gray's up 42-0 on Gilbert. The best game of the night in the Midlands is at Camden. Camden and AC Flora. It's 22-21 Camden. It's the best game of the night thus far.
Yeah. It's time to keep bookmarks on that bad boy right there.
Yeah. Irmo's up 34-7 on Chapin. Lexington trails White Knoll 28-7. I mean,
with White Knoll's defense, that one.
That's over. That's over. That's like Juan Soto trying to catch a fly ball.
Not happening.
Or Aaron Judge trying to catch a fly ball. Or better yet, Garrett Cole trying to cover first base. That's over.
That's not just not happening. It's a not willing.
Not willing, not happening, ain't trying, don't ask me. You pay me to throw the ball, not cover first base. It's 42-7 Brooklyn Casey over Airport. That rivalry game is going to go back to Brooklyn Casey, I think, for the 7th year in a row.
Ooh,
for the 7th time in a row.
Don't like seeing streaks like that if you're Airport, but if you're Brooklyn Casey, this is for a team that also 2-7. They've been in that club, not so closely monitored by Terry Ford and David Dare, the losing a lot this year club. Brooklyn Casey taking advantage of the lack of adult supervision, at least for tonight, and putting some points up on the board and looking like they're going to be cruising to that one.
You got a good game over in Kellytown, but Hartsville is starting to stretch. They're up 40-28 after an 18-yard touchdown run.
Oof.
11-play, 54-yard drive. 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Up by 12.
Keep a tab on.
Up by 12.
That's the thing with
still
the South
2-score
Florence
ball
team.
Game.
Yeah, 2-score ball game, but I mean, still a little bit of time. That's the thing about the South Florence team too, right? There's a lot of explosive athletes on the field. Defensively, when you have a guy like Amari Adams, who is such a wrecking ball game changer in the middle, that maybe you can be able to force a turnover with athletes like Jaden Sellers. Maybe you can score quick, even though it's 40-28. It feels like Hartsville's creating that separation. I can't, in my heart of hearts, rule Hartsville or South Florence out just yet.
Yeah. That's fair, but again, it is Kellytown.
Yeah,
man, I don't know.
You don't just walk into Kellytown and win, baby. You don't.
Jazavian Currents, Gamecock fans may know the name. Just maybe if you're into recruiting. He has a touchdown for South Point. 8:55 to go in the third quarter. A lot of points in this ball game. South Point 42, Richland Northeast 6. Now, again, a lot of the points have been scored by South Point and not as many by Richland Northeast.
Yep. a little unbalanced on that.
Okay, South Point's a much better ball club than Arnie right now.
Yes.
I mean, Arnie without Will Wilson's not very good, and he's still dealing, I think, with a little nagging injury. But South Point's really good. But 36 points better than Arnie in the third quarter.
Shouldn't
in the
be.
third quarter. Gracious.
Holding R&E to 6 points might be what ends up should make the headline, right?
Yes.
We knew
Yes.
South Point can put up points on the board, right? They can light up a scoreboard like it's a Christmas tree. And we can start talking about that now because we're in November.
We can't.
I'm going to.
Not yet.
I'm going to. Yep.
Not yet. 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks.
Oh, give
Give
me
me 2 weeks to
baby.
enjoy the
We're
month.
in.
Hey, listen, Thanksgiving
it.
is not just a meal. It's a holiday. It's a way of life.
It's the
And
kickoff. It's the kickoff party.
I
for Christmas, man. It's the kickoff
I feel
party.
bad. I feel bad for Thanksgiving that it gets overlooked by so many people.
Oh, you don't have to feel bad for
but yeah,
Thanksgiving.
listen, I
Some
do.
people,
And-
some people, players, athletes, thrive in being the glue guy or being the unsung hero. And Thanksgiving's just the unsung hero. It doesn't need all the attention. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a really good parallel. It's like Larry Allen and the Cowboys dynasty in the 90s, right? Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irving, they got the flash. Even on the defensive side of the ball, Deion Sanders, flash, they got the attention, but they don't win all of those championships without Larry Allen. Christmas is not Christmas without that Larry Allen as Thanksgiving. It doesn't have to be the sung hero, but the unsung hero is just equally as important. We can celebrate it in its own way.
That's fair.
Thanksgiving is
I'll
Larry
give you
Allen.
that.
I came with that on the fly, and I'm sticking to it.
Or Irmo, by the way, speaking of unsung heroes, Irmo is up 34-7 over Chapin. They just reached the half. I say that because I ran into a gentleman at a golf tournament yesterday. I was not playing in it. I ran into him at a golf tournament, and he had an Irmo hat on. And I said, "Oh, you got a guy?" I said, "You got a kid who plays for Irmo?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "My boy plays offensive line."
Good
for
unit.
Irmo. And I said, "All right, that's really cool." And I said, "By the way, don't think I'm weird for asking that. Here's what it." And he goes, "Oh yeah." He said, "I appreciate you guys not mentioning my son's name ever. That means he's doing a good job." I said,
I love the thought process.
You're right.
I love
You're
the
right,
thought
sir.
process. Not quite like
He
the
gets this-
standard of officiating, but like offensive line's kind of the same thing. You notice them the most when they're not
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah, he gets to snap the ball to AJ Brand every day. I said, "What's that like? What's it like to snap the ball to a guy knowing that you could score on the very next moment?"
At any given play, at any time.
At any given play, any given Sunday, any given Friday, whatever we call it now.
That no deficit is ever permanent.
None, if you even get into a deficit. By the way, River Bluff has scored, so congratulations to the Gators. They trailed 35-7.
14. That was their first score of the game. Oh,
first score.
For some reason, I thought
35-7.
Well,
No.
I mean, again,
They wish they did.
Dutch Fork does not simply give up points to anybody. They've gone through several games this year, which in soccer they will call clean sheets, where you leave the game with a goose egg on the scoreboard. So these aren't clean sheets, but there's been a lot of shutouts for Dutch Fork this year, to the point where we have taken notice and have found some cartoonish stats regarding Dutch Fork's defensive dominance. So even if you get beat by several scores in this game, keep the football that you scored the touchdown with, because you are in a very select class of teams that have been able to actually find the end zone. It's almost like finding Bigfoot, right? For a lot of teams, finding the end zone. Sometimes there's proof. Sometimes there's rumors that a team has scored on Dutch Fork, but you might not have all the proof. Keep the football. That's your proof.
Before we have to hit a break here, can I go ahead and say at 9:30 p.m. on November 1st in the year of our Lord 2024, we can now begin to look forward to next Friday night when Dutch Fork plays Irmo?
Collision course.
Are we there yet?
An
Are we there yet?
unstoppable force meets an unmovable object. That is Dutch Fork
because-
and Irmo.
Yeah, because here's the thing: you get Gamecock basketball before that, and then you get Dutch Fork and Irmo.
You do.
Like, that's the cool thing. That's a Friday night for you.
It's gonna be a fun Friday night. It's gonna be a loaded.
I think
Friday
so.
night.
I think so.
And then
Who wins that game, Mr. Campbell?
Between Dutch Fork and Irmo, until someone dethrones Dutch Fork, I'll believe it when I see it. Until somebody can prove they can score over 20 on that defense, I think Dutch Fork can score over 20 on Irmo. I don't know until I see it that Irmo scores more than 21 on Dutch Fork.
Okay.
We'll see.
Someone clip that for Coach Brand.
Clip
Put it in the hype video. bulletin board material there
Yeah,
from Mr.
there you
Campbell.
go.
I would never say something like that crazy.
It's a challenge. That's
About
my
Irmo.
challenge to them. That is my challenge to
Okay.
Irmo. Get that offense geared up. You're gonna play the best defense in the state of South Carolina. Goodness
Fair.
gracious, they're good. They don't let you score a lot. We'll go ahead. We'll take a quick break right here. I'll drink some water and think about what the hell I just said. And we'll do a whole lot more in terms of giving you some updates from around the state. You're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the Game. Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show rolling along. Man, Brooklyn Casey also rolling along. That's another touchdown. Yeah, they're a PAT away from making it 49-14. Gonna be a tough ride home for Coach Fiddler in Airport.
Yeah.
That's
one sleeping on the couch or
sleeping on the floor. He's sleeping on the floor tonight. So I pray for his back.
I told him he needs to go to the chiropractor. I will say though, I don't think this is top secret news. Elijah, can we just say that perhaps there is a coach in this ball game who may be joining us during the playoffs?
Yes, absolutely. We might be able to get some coach insight. You know, since I've been on the show, this will be the first time since I've been on that we will have a coach on to help break down the games with some coaching analysis from their perspective. I think, you know, our friend Shane Fiddler, head coach of the Airport Eagles, might be helping us break down some playoff games this year. Very looking forward to that. I love chatting it up with Coach.
That is if his team doesn't go to a state championship, which they still could do.
If Chris Daughtry taught you anything, Justin Hall,
nothing's impossible.
It's not over.
No, it's
Don't
not.
do it right this time around.
I mean, there are some things that, probably aren't going to happen, but not out of the realm of possibility.
Unlikely and
in the words of
impossible.
Kevin Garnett, anything is possible.
Yes, that is very true. Anything is possible. Anything is absolutely possible.
Dutch Fork leads 41-7.
And as soon as River Bluff scores, they can't have that enjoyment for too long.
Can't have nice things. Burns leads Boiling Springs 27-22, and I'm just jumping in here with some scores.
Okay, wow. I mean, Burns fighting out Boiling Springs right now. That might come down to the last minute.
I don't know if my score stream is wrong, but it says Hartsville leads South Florence 40-35, which
that
would mean
surprise me.
At some point there was a safety because it was 33. So I'm trying to see if that's legitimate as it stands right now. Final score: Gray Collegiate 42, Gilbert nothing. Final done. Over.
42. Good Lord. I mean, that's certainly a way to respond to your coach being suspended for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Is that a message? Abbeville.
Yeah,
Here's a message.
counts.
Abbeville beat Ware Shoals tonight 69-6.
Nice. Ware
McCormick's
Shoals got worn out.
Right. With McCormick's loss to Dixie, the Abbeville Panthers are the Region 1 1A champions, their 9th consecutive region title.
Yeah, that is a Kansas basketball in the Big 12-esque streak right there.
Yeah.
In terms
or in Oklahoma in the Big 12. Oklahoma in the Big 12 in football.
Yeah, they rocked that league for a long time. Not winning
having
this
that
year
kind of success in the SEC.
Yeah, they're just not in the Big 12 anymore, so you can't win it if you're not in it. Those are facts.
It can confirm the 7 points that River Bluff has scored. It's the first points allowed in 11 quarters by Dutch Fork.
See, the first points in 11 quarters?
11 quarters. That's according to Thomas on Twitter. Thank you, sir. The defense has only allowed... How many points do you think Dutch Fork has allowed this year? And this bit goes nowhere if you underestimate. How many points has Dutch Fork allowed?
I'm going to guess and say on the season, Dutch Fork
is their 9th game.
9th game, 28 points.
Careful, 24.
Oh! Close.
But well done.
Close.
But well done. 24 points in 9 games.
I'm telling you, that's why you keep.
Irmo puts that up in a quarter.
You score against Dutch Fork. Keep the damn football. Do the Lee Corso thing, the classic Lee Corso story. Whenever Indiana played Ohio State back in the day, and Ohio State, as they always are absolute juggernauts. Indiana, coached by Lee Corso, no chance of winning that game. They score. Ohio State scores first, but they don't get the extra point. Indiana scores, kicks the extra point, and the team poses in front of the scoreboard for a picture. Ohio State went on to win 42-7. So it didn't matter. But at the same time, you take that picture, you frame it, you keep it forever, and just save it for a rainy day or a bad day. And then, you can remember something that you accomplished that was really cool, even if only for a moment, because we celebrate all the victories in life, even the small ones.
Right. Even the small ones. Hartsville has stretched again. It was 40-35. It's now 47-35. Hakeem Waters with an 11-yard touchdown run. This drive is from Ian here on Twitter, quote, a masterclass in burning the clock and extending a lead. Running back Hakeem Waters was responsible for 41 of the 64 yards on the drive, 10 plays, 64 yards, 4 minutes off the clock, and there's just 4 minutes left in the ball game.
Oh, heavens. Yeah.
It's over.
That's called choking this bad boy out.
Yeah.
Straight out of the Big Ten playbook.
Limiting possessions. You just limited it. You made it to where South Florence, if you go score, you're going to have to kick an onside kick.
Yeah. Because
we just grinded you into submission, and your defense does not want to come out here again. Your defense wants to pull an Anthony Richardson in.
And head tap their way out. That's another thing. This gets into a philosophical football thing where a lot of times when it comes to fourth quarter, going for two in a certain situation or not, onside kicking in a certain situation or not, I'm always pro it because there is no guarantee you get the ball back for this specific reason. Your defense is at the most tired at this point in the game. Sometimes stopping the run can be it can be the hardest task at this juncture of a football game. And when you reach a point where you control your own destiny with your offense and the ball is in your hands and you have a chance to chase an extra point or two, or you have a chance to try to get the ball back with an onside kick, you kind of have to do
Right.
it because you don't have a guarantee that it's coming back your way by forcing a punt. There's no guarantee.
Mhm. Exactly. Batesburg-Leesville has missed a 39-yard field goal, but it doesn't matter. They're up 28-0 with 7:52 remaining in the ball game. That's 8 minutes. Now, if Saluda were to score every 2 minutes and kick onside kicks and get them every time, then this is a ball game.
Impossible?
I'm
No.
kinda-
Unlikely? Yes.
I'm kind of being a downer tonight because this game's over too.
Yeah, it is. It
Like
is.
I want hang around for some great analysis from guys like Uncle Lou Bajak and Chris Deering and Zach from Gilbert and Nathan Martin from Camden that's having the best game of the night in the Midlands by far.
That is the game of the night.
Stick around for those. Stick around for our look around the college football slate tomorrow. It's going to be a great day, and stick around for us talking about high school football because we're setting you up for a great final week of the regular season. But these games are putrid.
We finally got a dud.
Putrid.
We got a dud.
We didn't even get this in week 0, folks.
No.
This is but again,
10 weeks
to
in
the
this bad
point.
boy. We finally got one.
To the point. Yeah, to the point. It's not that the games are bad because the teams are bad.
It's because
what we're
one
seeing
team in the
here is
game
the games
is
aren't. Yes, because the
clubbing
one
away.
team in the game knows how good they are and are playing up to their potential. They're playing up to their potential.
Does it feel like a
Example.
Saturday at the Masters moving day type beat?
Yeah, or
Separation
early on
between
Sunday. Early on Sunday, you're seeing the player that happens to be in that grouping that tees off at around like 11 or 12, and here you go. Suddenly they're going to start making a run. I love the Masters reference. I think next week could be an even more interesting week because we don't have as loaded of a slate because a lot of teams aren't playing next week.
We just
That's
have
mostly
a
a Western
mega
Midlands and
matchup.
Upstate.
Yeah.
You have a mega matchup, and it's the mega matchup that we're all going to tune in for, and we're all going to watch it. And it's. I'm trying to think of the Dutch Fork and Irmo next week. What is my comp? Because I've gotten some really interesting comps this week.
It's been like what Ohio
regarding the
State and
Veer.
Michigan has been over the last few years. It won't be that this year, but
Yeah,
over the
is it
last
the
few
clash?
years where it felt like this is the game we were destined to get with both teams being undefeated, close proximity. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I can workshop this a little bit, but I think there's a little bit of a feeling to that, especially considering Michigan was more defense dominant, Ohio State more offense dominant, and comparing it and contrasting with Irmo and Dutch Fork.
I'm trying to think of it within conferences, and I'm trying to go through the conferences maybe even a couple years ago. It's not LSU, Alabama, because both of those teams were really good, but they played similar brands of football.
And less competitive over the last 3 years. I know Alabama's won 2 of the last 3, but also
Sure.
Michigan's. I mean, they've won 3 straight against Ohio State.
Is it okay? Is it Clemson, Alabama?
Interesting.
Because
The only difference is
those
just
Alabama
that they're
teams.
not guaranteed games. We had a guaranteed game where we're kind of like collision course between these two teams when they play
Sure.
undefeated. Maybe it's kind of the
Sure.
only difference when
Yeah,
workshopping this.
Not a guarantee as we workshop this out live on air because we don't get a pre-show meeting because Elijah has to spend his time eating weird foods. It appears to be.
Tummy feels weird. I'm not gonna lie.
I believe it. I think that makes sense though because Clemson was built on defense in those years, even with Deshaun Watson
Yeah.
and Trevor Lawrence.
Littered with NFL talent.
But Alabama threw the ball a lot. I mean, they had like just athleticism all over the field. Is it Alabama, Georgia?
More
Is
like
that
it.
better?
That's more like
Is
it.
that better?
Yeah, that's the sweet spot with that.
Like
that
they're
analogy.
destined to meet in they're destined to meet in Atlanta.
Collision coursing. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd agree with. Okay. So next week is like we're looking forward to December the 3rd.
Yes.
Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson are going to call the game. Wouldn't that be great? Could you imagine Uncle Vern making the drive? Where's this game being played at? Who cares? Can you imagine Uncle Vern making the drive to either the Lexington County or the Richland County side of the line and plopping down and calling this game?
That's the only way we can do it. That's what
gosh.
has to be done. I'm sure he would enjoy
Okay.
doing that more than having to go to some, schlub Big Ten game that's going to end with like 19 total points.
That's fair.
Significantly
That's
less
fair.
intrigue.
What game would you rather call? Irmo Dutch Fork in high school football next week, or would you rather call the Nebraska Iowa game? Have they played yet?
Farmageddon? No, Farmageddon's the last
Yeah.
week of the year every year.
Is it really?
Farmageddon, yeah. That is
I had no
that's a
idea.
post-Thanksgiving matchup every year.
Ah, well.
Game
How
is a
about
rivalry game.
how about that offensive ineptitude in that one? Huh?
So good.
Iowa's offense versus Marcus Satterfield. Good gracious.
First team to 10 wins. I want to
First
go
team to
throw
10.
up. We'll take a break. I'm going to go get sick in another room thinking about Farmageddon. But when we come back, Roger will be on the line. Uncle Lou Bajak will join us as well, and Cale Wilson gives us an update from White Knoll and Lexington. All of that and more as you're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the game. A lot of blowouts going down in the state tonight. It's the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Justin Hall. Ed Bird running the show. It's Ed Bird's world. We're just living in it, baby. Before we get into any other scores, we got some homies on the line right now willing to give us some updates. But for the first time tonight, it's time to hit the Lumos phone line. Uncle Lou Bajak.
Friday Night Guest Line, sponsored by Lumos.
Lumos 100% fiber internet gives you the freedom to be free from cable internet.
Visit lumosfiber.com to learn more.
Lumos is the internet built for the future, and Lou Bajak is back from the future. Here joining us right now. Lou, which game were you at tonight?
Gray and Gilbert.
Ah, yes.
Oh, close one.
Yeah, another one of those very close nail biters that we got tonight. And Lou, I mean, there might not be a team in the state that has sent a bigger, louder message than Gray, with the coach suspended for the remainder of the season. A lot of drama surrounding the program. This is nothing new to the Gray Collegiate football program, but they go to Gilbert tonight in one of the toughest places to play in the state and drop the hammer with a 42-0 win. What were some of your biggest takeaways from watching that?
Yeah, just, I mean, with all that's going on, I mean, D'Angelo O'Brien was gone. I mean, suspended for the rest of the year, and they were Trey Sullivan and Howie Bear were the interim coaches for the rest of the season, and they dominated them. Gilbert had a big kickoff to start the game all the way down to the 15, and Gray. I mean, they went 4 and out. I don't think they got a positive yard on that drive, and then Gray took a 21-0 lead at halftime, then scored three touchdowns within a 4-minute span in the beginning of the third quarter to dominate, take control of the game. Defense harassed Cooper James a lot, several sacks. They blocked a punt. They picked off a pass in the end zone. So, yeah, just a dominating performance. And now they'll wait and see, because they have another appeal before the high school league sometime this next week. And it's a totally different thing that was from last week. So, we'll see their status and what transpires during the week, as they have one of their biggest games of the year scheduled for next Friday against North Augusta. Both teams undefeated in the region and going for the region championship next Friday night.
When you're looking, Lou, at a team like Gilbert in this region, really quickly before we jump to some other things, and obviously talk about a game next week that might mean something to some people. In this region, you mentioned North Augusta and Gray. Brooklyn Casey's handling Airport, much to my chagrin. And Midland Valley gave North Augusta some trouble early, but North Augusta's pulling away in that one. And Aiken and South Aiken are doing what they do and just have a barn burner of a game and a rivalry game. And this region we mentioned is kind of top heavy, but that top's really good. Any shot that Gray can make a deep run in the playoffs this year, regardless of who their head coach is in the postseason, in their first foray into 4A?
Well, if they win their appeal, I mean, if they don't win their appeal before their season could be over. I mean, so yeah. We'll see about that. But yeah, I think they're definitely, if they get in, if everything they win their appeal, they're definitely a contender in 4A. I know South Florence and Hartsville, they're playing a wild game tonight. I know those two teams are good. I know Gray, North Augusta. They are definitely a title contender in the 4A lower state, no doubt.
Yeah, and then that game is wild right now. Trying to find an update for that, but definitely want to hit on this one because we have a mega matchup. We have the unstoppable force versus the unmovable object next week between Dutch Fork and Irmo. They're taking care of business respectively against River Bluff and Chapin tonight. But I felt like we've been on a collision course for these two teams to meet at 9-0. What are your kind of thoughts looking at that matchup and not just the implications, but just the high quality football that we're going to see from two of the best teams, not just in their classification, but in the great state of South Carolina?
No, it's going to be wild. I mean, you circled that game too when the schedule came out, and it was good that it was the last game of the year, and it got moved back even a week now because of the hurricane. So you get a little bit of less games and more attention even drawn to it. And playoff implications, they're both in. They both won't play each other in the playoffs. So this is it. I mean, because Irmo will be in Division II and Dutch Fork in Division I. So, yeah, it's going to be incredible. We know Dutch Fork actually allowed a touchdown tonight. I think that broke their 11 or 12 quarter scoreless streak. They were going for their, school record 6th shutout of the year. They already tied a school record in shutouts already. So it's going to be something facing A.J. Brand and Donovan Murph and all the weapons that Irmo has. And, the history with Coach Noss and Aaron Brand. Brand was an assistant with them back at Independence in Charlotte. So they know each other, and for whatever reason, they haven't played in a few years. And now it being in the same region, and both teams are really good, and it should be a heck of a matchup. And Silver Fox Stadium should be packed next Friday night.
One final thing for you, Lou, before we get you out of here. Batesburg-Leesville is up 28-7 in their ball game over Saluda. Best story of the year, Batesburg-Leesville?
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, definitely. I think especially now to go on the road and being undefeated, and how that program was down for a few years, and they had a coach leave after he was hired, Coach Cathcart, and then program was kind of a little bit, trending down, but Coach Lawson's comes in, and they got a very veteran group. They got a great under-the-radar running back in Amadre Wooden, and Tanner Watkins is a very good quarterback, and yeah, they still got a tough one next week. They'll have to play Strom Thurmond, and as Strom Thurmond, if they would win, they would force a 3-way tie in the region. But yeah, just an impressive performance to go on the road and do what they're doing to Saluda tonight.
Uncle Lou Bajak from the state. Lou, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. And I am as astonished as anybody that your beloved Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-2 and they've been starting Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. It's miraculous.
Aren't we all?
They got a bye week, and they're in a good spot. I'm one of the ones that are surprised. I was not a fan of that move to go to Russell Wilson, but now I'm all on board.
All it takes is a couple of good games of actually putting up air yards, and you'd be amazed at the optimism that follows.
Yeah, throwing the deep ball, it's amazing what that will do.
Crazy concept. Exciting football in the 21st century. Who would have thought between those two guys? Fantastic stuff, Lou. I'll see you tomorrow at Willie B.
Yep, will do. It should be another great atmosphere tomorrow night.
Yeah, looking forward to so much football. We're so blessed with all of this great football. Lou, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week, as always. Good stuff. Lou Bajak from the state. Real quick, we'll go ahead and get Roger because I want to get more from Kale here. So we'll get him on the other side of the break. Roger, what you got for us?
It got 5-game score. Oceanside Collegiate 40, OW 8, fourth quarter. Ombre Prep 41, something nothing. Calvin County 37, White Center nothing, fourth. Hunter County Tyler 60, and Richmond at 8 in the fourth.
Blowout City. Can someone say running clock? Roger, awesome stuff as always, brother. Appreciate you calling in. Yeah, Hunter County Tyler, buzzsaw. Absolute buzzsaw.
No doubt about it.
Good stuff.
No doubt about that.
We'll go ahead, take a quick break. We'll wrap up hour number 3 here. Go and kick off hour number 4 with our man, Cale Wilson, who has some finality to the White Knoll Lexington matchup that we so have been keeping tabs on throughout the night. All of that and so much more, giving you all the finals throughout the state of South Carolina as you listen to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on the game. Final hour. Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on The Game. I'm Elijah Campbell. He is Justin Hall. Ed Bird behind the glass, working the phones like a madman tonight. I can see it on his face. He is, I mean, that young fella is as good as it gets in this business to handle these phones and making sure this bad boy operates as smoothly as it does, because it's not thanks to us. That's for sure. That is for damn
True.
sure. It's the Ed
Can
Bird Show.
confirm.
His world. We just pay rent. I'm a little late on it too, but we're not late to getting to Cale Wilson, who is over at White Knoll, Lexington. Cale, thanks for joining us, brother. Thank you for your patience. What did the final score end up being? I know White Knoll was definitely got off to an early lead, and it felt like they were really in firm control.
So actually, the game's not over.
Oh,
it is still going on. White Knoll leads 35-14. They did put in the backups for White Knoll as Lexington was driving down the field at the fourth quarter. It looked like they were going to possibly make a score. So it looked like they had a small chance of life. But as they were in White Knoll territory, backup quarterback, number 11, Matthew McCauley, threw an interception to Devin Geronimi, which gave the Timberwolves the ball. Ever since then, they put in the backup, and they've just been trying to run down the clock. They put in backup quarterback for White Knoll, number 8, Jais McKeever, and he is basically just doing a bunch of designed quarterback runs right now, and they're able to pick up first down every 3 plays, so they're just trying to run down the clock as much as they can.
It sounds like they're doing a pretty good job of it, so that will be a flag, false start on me. That's me 5 yards, still remaining first down. But Cale, thanks for the update as always, and if anyone wants to watch the remaining minutes of this game, where can they do so?
They can find that on Savage College Football on Instagram.
As always, Cale Wilson. And remember, at Savage College Football on Instagram, where you can catch his game each and every week. Cale, appreciate you joining us, and we'll talk to you at the end of the game when it actually ends.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
See, life lesson, kids. The game's not over until there's zeros on the clock.
That's correct. Ask Alabama. Even 1 second matters.
Yes.
I will give you this. Chapin's hanging in there. It's 34-14, 10 minutes left. And then on the very next drive, they force a fumble. 8 minutes
Can they make
left
it
in the
intriguing?
third quarter.
I would like to see them make it intriguing.
I would like to as well.
I like
that's
a
just something to
little
keep an eye
intrigue
on.
on the program.
I prefer it. It makes our jobs even more fun. Final score, Batesburg, Leesville 28, Saluda 7. They could win the region championship next week when they take on Strom Thurmond. The game is over. The Red Foxes of Hartsville win tonight, 54-35.
Wow.
Over South
End up doing
Lawrence.
so by almost 20.
They are the region champs. An 86-yard pick six spread that game out even further there late. It was 47-35. That made it 54-35. Hartsville wins the region there. And just a number one, a sports at large note for you. If you're already missing Major League Baseball, I have been since the Braves season ended. I didn't even watch the rest of the playoffs. The Cubs and the Dodgers will be the participants in the Tokyo series for Major League Baseball to kick off the 2025 season. So Dansby Swanson v. Freddie Freeman in Tokyo, like all Braves fans want. And here's your sports-ish niche. There's a report that Tom Cruise is pursuing a Days of Thunder sequel. Just leave that alone.
Interesting.
Ford.
Good film.
Terry Ford brought up Tom Cruise. Oh, the original's great. Terry Ford brought up Tom Cruise earlier today at 1:30. A movie that a young Tom Cruise did about high school football that I had never seen before. And I told him I try to stay away from Tom Cruise movies as much as I can, but I just thought I'd mention that in honor of our conversation at 1:30. By the way, you can catch a preview of this program each and every Friday at 1:30 on the halftime show.
Tell them.
How about Wando on the Lumos guest line, by the way?
Yes.
It's active at 1:30. Wando beat Beckham tonight. Lucy G. Beckham beat him 10-7 and 5-5 on the year for Wando to end the year. So
flat 500.
I'm telling you, Wando's gonna start getting it back under themselves, and once they do, that's a good program and one to look out for in the Low Country. And I'll give you a final score: Broken Casey 49, Airport 14.
Bummer for Airport. That's
1-8.
Yeah. Tonight was tough, man. I mean, Brooklyn Casey got on them early. Didn't have to throw the ball a lot. This was more of a classic Brooklyn Casey type game like we saw last year. Will Young ain't walking through that door. But I mean, they got a lot of push on the line of scrimmage, and that's where football's won, man. It's won in the trenches. Tough loss for Airport, but a resounding win for Brooklyn Casey. I mean, for a team that 2-7 coming into this game, they need every bit of momentum that they can get, especially after that close loss to Gilbert just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking loss for them and the manner in which they lost. That's a good sign for Coach Sharpie's crew going into the playoffs. I mean, you don't want to go into it at 3-7, but you want to go into it on a note like how they just ended the regular season.
Yeah. Irmo has settled down. AJ Brandon, Donovan Murph. It's 41-14.
And it's gone. All that intrigue that we thought we might be getting. Yeah, that is I got to disagree with Chris Daughtry. This one is over.
That's very on brand for this week. I tell you, I kind of
blowout wins.
Kind of stunned by it, honestly. But at the end of the day, if we only get one of these a year, I'm cool with it. T. Hanna up 43-9 over Malden as it stands right now.
Kevin Garnett ain't walking through that door.
Here are your Dutch Fork numbers. No, he's not. And even if he did, I would want him on the court.
Yes, better suited that way.
Here are your numbers for Dutch Fork updated. They win tonight 41-14 over River Bluff. So River Bluff got another touchdown in there, but it's their 16th straight victory.
Keep the ball.
16th straight victory, 39-1 in region play since 2016. They're 9-0 all time against River Bluff.
9-0 all time. Wow.
And their defense has only allowed 31 points all season. The streak of scoreless quarters ended at 11, but that was 144 minutes and 31 seconds of game time.
Oh, wow.
Not allowing a point.
That's not quite the length of the movie Lincoln, that biopic, but it is a little closer to a Lord of the Rings film.
I'm doing some work on that.
That's 2 hours and 24 minutes for you non-math majors out there.
Correct. The Lincoln movie runtime is 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Wow, it's longer. I thought it was a 3 hour. I thought that eclipsed 3 hours.
No, two
like
and 30. Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was an hour and 45, by the way, in case you're interested.
Why do long movie when short movie do trick?
That's so true. That's so true. I'm glad you understand that. I'm looking for the Lord of the Rings movie links now as we speak, but I'm telling you, it doesn't come close to it on that one.
2 hours and 44 minutes or 2 hours and 24 minutes. Sorry.
2:58 was the Fellowship of the Ring. 3:21 was Return of the King.
3:21.
The best one, by the way, because Aragorn, the best character in the whole trilogy, takes his rightful place as king.
Minutes?
And it's worth every minute of it.
See, I mean, I've only seen, admittedly, I've only seen Fellowship, and that would have been.
You haven't seen the other two?
Yeah, I've not seen the other two, and this would have been. I saw Fellowship when I was a wee young lad. I mean, I'm
okay.
Have been
homework
6, 7.
Homework before next season, so you got until August. Watch the other two, but you're gonna need to watch Fellowship.
I'm gonna need the whole month consecutively. Yeah, you're right.
True, because you could probably watch like them in 45-minute spurts and just fill up. Again, what do you got to watch?
At that point, you know.
You get back from SEC Media Days, what you got going on? Nothing.
Watch the Reds play baseball? No, because they stink, and they're probably out of the race by then.
You get Tito Francona. By the way, here's a comp. Here's a comp that just came to my mind. Comp just came to my mind for Irmo and Dutch Fork.
Okay, give it to me.
Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Unstoppable force, immovable object.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're getting at here. So we've already drawn that game's already drawn Bama Georgia comps. Now Andre the Giant v Hulk Hogan, or Andre the Giant versus an entire barrel of beer. Andre the Giant will win.
Also true. Hulk Hogan probably would have too back in the day. Not sure if he would now, but yeah, I think that's a fair one. I will say, I don't think that Irmo is going to be afraid of the logo on the helmet.
No, there will be no sticker on helmet fear in this game. That will not exist. There's a thing of sticker shock, but in football, there can be helmet sticker fear.
Yes.
I don't think either of these teams will succumb to that when we start talking about this game this time next Friday night.
which I think I'll reserve my Lou Holtz story for next week when I'm in studio.
Yes,
Is that
and I
fair?
know
Should I
exactly. I
reserve-
think I have a clue as to what it might be, but it's a classic.
Should I reserve that?
Yes.
Should I reserve that Lou Holtz story
Absolutely.
for next week?
You
Okay.
want-
I'll reserve it for when I'm in
100% do.
studio.
That's
okay.
good.
I'll reserve it for when I'm back in studio because I think there was a moment in time where it was possible for teams in the local area when playing in SEC matchups to somehow fear the legend of other teams just based on the simple logo on the helmet. And you can't allow that to happen next week if you're Irmo. That's just AJ Brand and Donovan Murph and that entire offense against that Dutch Fork defense that has allowed 31 points all year. All year.
Cartoonish. That's cartoonish. That's what it is.
But Irmo's offense is also cartoonish. But we've seen Irmo struggle.
Cartoon versus cartoon matchup. Looney Tunes
Have we seen
Bowl.
Dutch Fork? Have we seen Dutch Fork struggle at all?
Huff played him close at the beginning of the year, but that was week 1 or week 0. No, because they didn't play. They didn't play week 0. They honored.
No, it would have been week 1.
They honored the law of mathematics. They did not play week
0 game. While 0 is a real number.
Yes, you can't play a 0 with game. No.
Correct. So they did. Tom Knotts is doing the right thing. We haven't seen them struggle yet. Truthfully,
adversity has not hit. True adversity.
Does it hit next week? Does it hit next week?
It very well could. God, I'm so excited for that game. You know what's better than one Cale Wilson update to start hour number 4?
Ooh. 2 Cale Wilson updates.
That's right. 2 Cale Wilson updates because we have Cale Wilson update number 2. That fourth quarter flew by the time we can get even out of this first segment. Cale, do we have a final update of this game?
Yes, we do. So White Knoll comes away victorious 35-14 with their first region win of the season, with preparing for another region test as they have Chapin next week. So they come away with the win on senior night. I actually have head coach Nick Pelham right here for a post-game interview as well.
That's why you're the best of the best, Cale Wilson. The best in the business. He's already got the coach. Holly Rose got nothing on Cale Wilson. And we have Coach Pelham on with us right now. Coach, it feels like tonight was the type of game that is right down your alley as an offensive-minded coach. You got to lead early. You smothered the thing out. What does it say about your team to be able to get a win like this on senior night and get a little bit more of a comfortable position as you roll into the final game of the regular season?
Well, number one, I think it's really important that we did win. Obviously, we've played in some other games that we just haven't won them. Sumter, we were up. River Bluff, we're in overtime. We played well in some other games against some good teams. So, yes, winning is important. I'm just so, I don't know. We could be so good. We could be so good. And a lot of penalties. We hurt ourselves. Celebration penalties. Late hits out of bounds. Big plays when we were up 35-7. Gave up a long pass. The quarterback was out. We could be so good. We have tough kids. We have great kids. It just hasn't come out yet exactly how we want to. The great news is we still have one more region game. There's a chance that we play Chapin back-to-back in the first round of the playoffs after we play them next week. They're a fantastically coached offensive team. They've got a great team. They've got some great skill players, great offensive line. It's going to be a big challenge for us.
Coach, appreciate you hopping on with us real quick, and we'll give you one more question to get you out of here. Go let you celebrate this win. When we talked last week in the studio, and appreciate you doing that again, you talked about your players just having to really take ownership of the program. And listen, beating Lexington can go a long way in that. And you guys are going to be in the playoffs. And does this instill some of that confidence after getting humbled over the last couple of weeks?
Yes. I'm not very fun to be around when we win, and it must be impossible to be around when we lose. So it has not been fun the last few weeks. It hasn't been fun for coaches. It hasn't been fun for me. It hasn't been fun for players. I'll be quite honest with you. It's just it hasn't been fun. Not everything's fun. Kids have to understand not everything's fun. You got to work. You got to earn it. But, I told our team that the beginning of the year is the beginning of the year. That doesn't – what our year is going to be remembered by is what happens from here on. Did we overcome adversity and lose some games early on and really make a big playoff run, or did we let that define our season and not finish it and not do a great job? You're right. Beating Lexington is important. It's important to our community. It's important a district school, a region school right next door. I do think that's important. They're a good team. They're a tough team. I think pound for pound, they hit. I'm really impressed by every level of Lexington this year. Their Bs, their JVs, their varsities, how well they hit and how tough they were. So yeah, winning's important. It does help. But the rest of the year is going to be, did we fix this thing, and did we not become our own worst enemy with penalties and silly things and make a playoff run, or did we continue to just make the same mistakes? And I guess that's a referendum on me as a coach.
Good stuff there, Coach Pell. And White Knoll with a big win over Lexington tonight. They wrap up the regular season at Chapin next week. Coach, appreciate you talking to us. Always welcome on this esteemed radio program, and good luck next Friday night.
Thanks,
Yes,
Coach.
sir, thank you.
Good stuff right there. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. We come back, we'll talk about more of some of the scores from around the state, take some of your phone calls as well. You're listening to the Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show right here on The Game. Welcome back in. Love Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show here on The Game. Final scores coming in fast and furious right now. We'll go ahead and get back to the phone lines real quick. Tristan on the line with us right now. It looks like he was at the Brooklyn Casey Airport game tonight. Tristan, what were your observations, good sir?
Yes. Hey, first off, it's good to hear back from you all. It was a great night for Brooklyn Casey. They won the final was 49-14. BC's quarterback, is that getting better after every week after getting that surgery over the summer. That's why they didn't. Yeah, they had a gauntlet of a first part of the season with having Red Bluff, White Knoll, and May River, like in that quarterback, is what changed the season around for them.
That's what it sounds like. And a really good, a really big win for them tonight to do so in emphatic fashion as they end their regular season. They need that as in the worst way. Thank you for calling interest and good hearing from you, buddy. Big win for Brooklyn Casey tonight. And we'll go ahead and transition over to Roger. Once again, Roger with the goods. Roger, what you got for us?
Got 2 game score. Bamberg Earhart 36. Ola 26 in the fourth. Mount Hancock Tyler beat Richmond there 6-8.
All right. Your alma mater, Roger, is I don't know, should we use Buzzsaw or Freight Train? Because I think both are adequate. I don't know if they fit more of that Buzzsaw or Freight Train description, but Hunter Kiner Tyler, just like the Wu-Tang Clan, nothing to be messed with. That's me doing the FCC appropriate version of that.
Right,
we'll go ahead and go back to the phone lines as well. We're going to hit up Nathan. Nathan, welcome back, good sir. What you got for us?
Camden and AC4 tonight, huge playoff implications, and this game did not disappoint. Roper Winsky, AC4 got the ball first. His first pass was batted up in the air. Logan Freeman with a pick six to start the game off. AC4 would answer right back to tie the game at 7. And from that point on, it was a Wyatt Thompson show. He threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown, and threw for a 2-point conversion. And Camden gets the huge win, 44-21, which shoots us from 4th in the region all the way up to the 2 seed in our region. Big win tonight. And let me tell you, I got to sing the praises of Roper Winsky. That kid is the real deal. He made some throws tonight where we had perfect coverage, and he still somehow threaded in there a couple of times. That kid is the real deal. They got some good receivers as well. Kendall Bird is just a junior. He'll be back for Florida next year. They got a really good football team. But Camden came out with the energy tonight and really put the pressure on Winsky. He took about 6 or 7 hard shots tonight, but he's a tough kid, kept getting up. And it's a class act by AC4, but a big win for Camden. Really kind of took the air out. After Florida went down and scored and made it an 8-7 ball game, Camden kind of took the air out of it and really controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides for the rest of the ball game.
Yeah, it kind of sounds
like this was going to be my drive of the week candidate, but then Camden decided to do Camden things and kind of pull away. So thanks, Nathan, for that. Appreciate it. You make my job a lot harder here over the next 10 minutes. Appreciate
make Justin
that, bud.
work a little bit.
Yeah, God, hey, how dare you? Nathan, looking at Camden had a rough start to the year. You mentioned it. Now heading into the playoffs, in good position. And from your perspective, what are we looking like for Camden come next week and the week after as we hit postseason play? What's your expectation?
Well, going into the season, we had to replace 9 starters on offense. So I think it took us a while to really find our identity on offense. And I think we found it last week on the road in the second half against Lancaster, and it carried over to tonight. Look, Camden's defense is as good as there is, and they'll keep us in the ball game. But tonight was huge because it at least guarantees you 1 home playoff game, possibly 2. And, I may be a little biased, but I'll take Camden at historic Zip Stadium anytime being a home game in the playoffs. You guys know how hard it is to win on the road at all 3 levels. So I feel like we're peaking, at least offensively, at the right time. We got our playmakers back that were out and missed a couple weeks, and JoJo Cribb had just made north-south. He's back healthy. So I think we're kind of hitting our stride at the right time. We played a tough schedule. And, that South Point game, we kind of had to reevaluate after that. But since then, these guys have been on a tear. They knew what was at stake 3 weeks ago. We had to win out, and just give credit to the coaching staff and the players. They just hunkered down and took it game by game and go into a playoffs on a 3-game win streak, which is what you want to do.
Indeed. Yeah. That you always want to go into the playoffs playing your best ball, and Camden's certainly playing their best ball right now. Nathan, as always, man, we appreciate you calling and giving us some insight on the latest from Camden. So looking forward to talking to you here again soon.
No doubt. No, huge shout out. All 3 county teams from Kershaw County made the playoffs. That is awesome for our little tiny county. So go Knights, go Demons, and go Bulldogs. Let's all represent Kershaw County in a couple weeks in the playoffs.
I love it.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow. You know what the W in Kershaw County stands for? It stands for winners.
There you go.
Hey, I'll take it.
Stands for winners.
Look at that.
Love it.
Look at that.
Love it. Awesome. But Nathan, as always, great detailed report. Man, I mean, that game was back and forth, man. It was back and forth, and then Camden did what Camden does, and now we have to look a little bit harder for our drive of the week.
I'm working on it. It kind of ruined it, though. Usually it's a pretty easy stretch for me. I'm able to find it, one of our top games that we're dealing with here. You can find it pretty easily. I mean, I'm going to have to go out of the footprint here, guys.
A night like tonight, where we, a lot of the games that we had looked at, I mean, especially, my hypothesis coming into this was that we were going to end up wrapping the show up, ultimately talking about Batesburg, Leesville, Saluda, because that's one of the biggest games that's been played in Saluda in a long time. And Batesburg, Leesville just showed up to Saluda's house, raided the pantry, took all the food, all the goodies, even took the gummy snacks, raided the fridge too. All the leftovers are gone too. And they didn't even take their shoes off and stay a while. They came in and just took what they wanted and left, pillaged over at Saluda right now, which might be maybe the ultimate statement win of the night. I put Gray Collegiate shutting out Gilbert on the road, doing the exact same thing, going to Gilbert's house and just taking what they wanted, being incredibly rude, leaving the toilet seat up in the guest bathroom as well. It's doing whatever you shouldn't do when visiting someone's home and then leaving. Right. I think both of those teams did that tonight. I call those statement wins. In Camden, a squeeze in there too with a statement win.
I agree with that. By the way, you want to talk about a statement win? Really quickly, I got to go to college football. UConn is 6-3. They beat Georgia State tonight.
Bowl eligible, baby. Bowl eligible.
The same Georgia State team that beat Vanderbilt.
One of the weirder results in all of college football.
So transitive property tells me
it's never wrong
that UConn beat Georgia State, who beat Vandy, who beat Alabama. So UConn,
who beat Georgia,
better than Alabama, who beat Georgia. So UConn is better than Georgia.
Damn right, Justin.
Is that the transitive property we're working?
Is Danny
here?
Hurley coaching the basketball or the football team? What's going on here? Don't let UConn get hot.
Who's coaching the football team?
Oh, that would be Atlanta Falcons legend Jim Mora Jr.
Shut it. Yeah, it would be. UCLA. How about this? UCLA legend Jim Mora Jr. whose defensive coordinator was Whomst.
Jim Mora's DC was it Norm Chow, the offensive coordinator?
Current Jets interim head coach.
Oh, no way. What a staff.
Yes.
What a staff.
Remember
am I tripping though? Was Norm Chow the offensive coordinator? Or
I think he was.
I think he played both sides of that Southern Cal UCLA rivalry.
Mm-hmm. He
so
did.
To have Norm Chow as the OC and then now the current New York Jets head coach as his DC.
Man.
Interesting coaching staff right there.
And the DC like handed him his play sheet at one point. Yeah, big football guy. Big football guy.
They must have been really good.
Irmo, they were not.
Irmo. Spoiler alert, they were not.
Sorry, I didn't catch the sarcasm there. Irmo leads 48-14 over Chapin.
Yep.
What's the? I'm searching hard for this drive of the week, y'all. Forgive me. It's the drive of the week. All these players, former players, and recruits that I'm seeing that are coming to Carolina tomorrow for this game. Donovan Murph is taking an official to the Gamecocks tomorrow.
Oh, I love it. Even more important to make a great impression on Mr.
Yes,
Murph.
it is.
I believe to be arguably the best receiver in the state. And I hear you, Jordan Gidrin. I hear you, Malik Clark. But he's got the tools, man. Bob the Builder would be envious of the tool set that this man has when it comes to his talents on a football field.
By the way, Colin Murray Boyles has a tool set on the basketball court. He's preseason third team All SEC, according to the coaches in the conference. So that broke today. How about that? The Gamecocks start their season on Monday.
They do.
Men's
Against the
basketball.
Ospreys of North Florida.
You're a basketball guy.
I am.
Look out for that. Look
Big
out for
hoops
that.
guy.
Should be a fun one.
Yeah, fun fact.
but
North
yeah.
Florida, one of only 4 teams in all of college basketball last year, shoot more threes than twos for an entire season. One of only 4.
Look at you. Look at you.
The
That's a
jumpers been
stat. That's a
flying.
stat of the day.
Yeah.
Justin's looking for a drive of the week as we speak, as we get ready to head to a break. I
Yeah.
am, man, it's a
I have
rough
an
week
idea
when
of
you
one for
can't
you.
find a
I'll
good close
text you.
game.
I'll
Okay.
text it to you. I
good.
have an
Good.
idea, and I'll run it by you. So
Good.
we'll do that during the break.
Okay.
We'll come back
Awesome.
with the Honda Drive of the Week as you're listening to the Left Chevy High School Football Scoreboard Show here on the Game.
You did mention a drive of the week, so credit's going to go to Mr. Elijah Campbell for this drive of the week. But Mr. Ed Bird, can we get that Honda Columbia drive of the week calendar there?
The drive of the week, sponsored by Honda of Columbia.
That's the good stuff. Credit to Mr. Elijah Campbell for this one. Hartsville, our Honda of Columbia drive of the week. They host South Lawrence tonight in Kellytown, and they handle business.
No one just walks into Kellytown
Kellytown. I think of West Blankenship on Twitter talking about
Coffeetown.
Coffeetown High School, and I just think about it's just so perfect.
It's one of the funniest
Hartsville
bits around.
No question, because it's so true. And we live it every Friday night. Hartsville had an 86-yard pick six at the end of this game to stretch it to 54-35. And that pick six is part of the reason why they're the Honda of Columbia Drive of the Week, because now they're driving straight into the playoffs with a region title belt strapped around their waist or slung over their shoulder, depending on the aura of your favorite professional wrestler, depending on who they may be. I'm sure there are plenty of candidates for that, but Hartsville, your Honda of Columbia Drive of the Week winner. They take down a very talented South Florence team, by the way, tonight, and do it convincingly.
By 19 points? Yeah. I mean, if it convinced no one, it at least convinced me.
It convinced you to nominate them.
So,
and we're at the point in time where nominations matter. So
they
I
do.
take your nomination.
Look at you, yeah.
I take your nomination. We roll with it. And that's what
Visit lumosfiber.com to learn more.
That's right. We're heading over to Chris Deering right now. Our good pal, Chris Deering, joins us. And he was at what we thought was going to be the game of the night, of the year, of the century. Maybe not the century, but maybe the year. Who knows?
Century.
But Chris Deering was at Saluda, Batesburg, Leesville tonight. And Chris, I didn't necessarily live up to the billing in terms of a close game, but I think Batesburg, Leesville made one of the loudest statements in the state of South Carolina this afternoon.